Hey, spoilers! This is podcast all about spoilers. Spoilers will be everywhere.
The classic ways return. Wait,
Classic
Paula, wait, we
ways.
can do the... In your mic.
Oh.
Yeah, cheers.
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 So,
Welcome everybody.
welcome back. It is another episode of Twofold podcast. Theme song. Yeah. We are back, and it is a different kind of episode.
It's a special edition.
It's a special dish. A special dish. You see, Phil is away. As you all know, he is eating sushi and
Every day.
and
Listening to old people talk about plants and showing
goldfish.
the neighborhoods, visiting friends.
shrimp McDonald's.
Shrimp
he's
burger?
crashing. Yep, he's crashing different.
He's sending videos and he's always like, Jake, you're missing out.
Every time. Always the Jake missing out.
Jake, you should have been by my side
And what other updates?
all this time.
Looking at porn at the
Exactly.
at the stores.
I think it was a peep show actually.
Peep show.
Peep show.
Peep show.
Yeah.
He's a rare Tokyo peeper.
His comment on that was, it was just some badly rendered 3D girls.
Yeah, but we'll never know if Phil went in there or not.
Yeah.
We will never know.
We'll ask
So
him when
Phil's
he
in
comes back.
Japan. The traitorous rat he is. He escaped from his duties. So, well, I guess he was supposed to be the host of this episode, but since he is away, we will skip that to the next episode. We'll make this one special. And to, take on the third host duties, we'll have a special guest this episode. Jacob, why don't you introduce him?
Well, today is a special episode with a special guest. A very special person to me. The number one special person.
Oh.
It is Paula, my fiance.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's good to be here.
Welcome.
This is not your first time podcasting, right?
No, I was on another special
Yeah, you were on an old podcast.
in one of the old podcasts that Phil and Jake had. And I was in a Christmas special.
That's true, but you didn't have a dedicated mic.
No, I did not. And my mic,
You had
mic,
to share a mic?
yes, and it kept being hijacked by the other friend who was also on the podcast. And so I
Wow.
I just gave up eventually and got like drunk. I think we were
I think
drinking
so.
like porters and stouts.
Well,
but
It was really fun.
But the great thing is now you're here. You're a dedicated third co-host with your dedicated microphone. You actually have Phil's
I have
microphone.
Phil's mic. And there's like this little net in front, so I'm guessing there's a lot of Phil's spit on it. So
So you get to
Well,
just
here's the question.
very special.
Phil's a very special man, and he uses two nets. He uses two pop filters because one
I just
pop
brought
filter
one.
is better.
because he's
Oh,
very
you didn't bring
poppy.
the other one?
Well, because I don't understand the
True.
double pop filter thing. I don't understand it.
Well, it's Phil. His dynamics
Phil
all over
Ways.
the place.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That's true.
Yeah, that's
So when
true.
we try to test, this is a sneak peek for all the listeners. Whenever we try to test levels, right? Well, when me and Phil used to record in the same room, it'd be like testing, 1, 2, 3. I'd be like, okay, this is pretty much where my range is going to be. And Phil's range is like 0 decibels to like 120, and then in between, and then up and down and up and down. He's basically a compressor's worst nightmare.
It's true. He's very dramatic, which I think would have tied wonderfully with our theme tonight if he were to be here, because tonight is all about drama. Sadly, it's not about spookiness, because once again we have Jake.
That's right. Oh, that's right. We got
Well,
to successfully skip the Halloween stuff.
We did. I really apologize. Next year, I promise. I
Why?
promise. I'm
You
gonna tie
probably would
Jacob
have.
to
You probably would have made us look like watch some horror movies or something.
some deprived, horrible shit, probably. But here's the thing. Well, no. Here's the thing. I would have wanted to watch. There's 2 movies that came out around this time that I would want to watch, but big in Europe, and them being smaller movies, they're not released here. I can't see them. I really want to see The Lighthouse.
But didn't
Really,
Phil say
really.
that it's coming here, at least in Croatia, to one of those?
At least in Croatia. I don't know about Bratislava. I have
the
not
hipster
found
cinemas?
any. Yeah, I have not found any.
Which one?
It's called The Lighthouse.
Lighthouse.
No,
It's
I don't
black
know.
and white.
It's from the director of The Witch, which is a very, very.
Is it like a scary movie?
Probably more like intense, probably, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say like a little bit like weird and gothic-y and kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know much about it because I really liked this first movie, The Witch, and I loved it so much. So I didn't want to read
but that's
or
a
see
movie
anything
that
about the new
I would
movie.
die probably watching The Witch.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think you
We
would
don't
enjoy
watch
it.
scary movies. That's
It's
a
not
mutual
it's not
trait
like-
that we have.
Oh my goodness, cowards! It's not like scary.
It's
It's
not
more
cowards.
like unsettling.
It's
But
called
why would you
lies.
why would you willingly expose
We
yourself
talked
to
about
that?
this. We talked about this before. Why do people ride roller coasters? It's an emotion. We all experience joy from movies, and sometimes you want to experience terror and unsettling. Because
but the only difference is that after you're done with the roller coaster, like that was so fun, and then after a horror movie, you're like, I wouldn't
Yeah,
want to
for
look in
5
the
days
mirror.
you're like, yeah, cover all the mirrors, please. Don't turn off the lights.
yeah.
that's a part of the process. Once you get to my level, that's all gone now. You can go to bed afterwards. It's all fine. It's gone.
know,
it's
Timmy.
great. So anyway, and the other movie I really wanted to watch was Jojo the Rabbit, the new Taika Waititi movie that came out now as well. But no, nothing in my
Is that
cinema.
the Hitler one?
Yes, that's when he plays Hitler. So there's the movies that.
Yeah.
But whatever, you know what? But
there's some interesting movies coming out, right? There's the Ferrari one.
Yeah, I mean they're coming out soon, so we'll have plenty of movies. But
We could have watched A Dog's Journey.
We watched that, by the way, in cinema.
Like
didn't,
that was
Charlie's
that was
Angels come out as well.
Oh yeah.
Charlie's Angels.
I could have maybe seen Hustlers. There were a bunch of movies that came out, but here's the thing. Things. There were a lot of things were happening. But before we get to those things, I want to know what are you guys drinking?
Before we go, I just realized that Phil's going to be listening to this episode, so we should tell him a message. What can we say? He's going to be listening to it on his earbuds, probably one of those Shinken trains. Shinkansen. What are they called?
Shinkansen?
Shuriken. I don't know.
And what can we tell Phil? Hello, Phil. I hope you're well. Stay healthy. Stay safe.
Don't stay one place. Go explore Japan. It's a big.
But I think he is when the episode comes out, he will be exploring. I think other places because he was in
Visit
Tokyo for the
Fukushima.
first.
Get some radiation.
That's perfect.
That's Hiroshima.
Well, no, Fukushima too.
Oh
That's more
yeah,
recent.
the power plant. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't think
yes.
is Hiroshima still like isn't that rebuilt?
That's
already?
fine. I think
Yeah,
they're
that's
good.
fine. I
It's
think.
like it's blossomed.
Blossom.
So yeah, that's our message, right, to Phil.
Yeah. Come home. It's like, come home. Phil. You know, like it's like a World War II movie where it's like, oh, somewhere out there, there's our boy.
We can tell him,
back.
Phil, we've been to your place today.
That's true. We have.
Mm-hmm.
We
Are
saw
all the spiders intact.
We saw
That's
the
all.
secrets.
That's all we'll say.
The secrets he has left. Ah,
No, we're joking.
the cheese
it
house.
was
The cheese
just
house
Phil's
of
place.
secrets.
Yeah, the cheese house.
Nothing new. No,
The cheese penthouse.
Okay, and finally, I'm hijacking everything now. This is what I do. Before we get into the drinks, I wanted to ask you, Tim. Did you do anything for Halloween or no?
No. That's what I wanted to say after the brews. But yeah,
Okay,
no,
okay,
I
then.
did nothing. No, it's fine. It's fine. There's no rules. It's a special episode.
I know.
We're all good. This. So no. What I wanted to say was like, what were we talking about? I was gonna.
Halloween. Did you do anything? And then you're like, no, apartment.
It was before. Yeah, that's the thing. Because we moved apartments. That's 2 weeks. It's been madness.
So here's the question: are you fully now moved in, like for real? Like you're not going back?
No going back. No
That's
going
it?
back. New people living in the old place.
Oh,
Damn
damn it! I wanted that place.
You wanted the old
We
place?
wanted the place.
It was a nice place.
We wanted it too, but they didn't want to sell it. So.
Oh man.
So yeah. What can you do?
So bigger place, bigger, or
Same size.
Same,
Same
just different
size. But we
arrangement.
get not necessarily. Yeah, it is bigger. If you because we didn't have that room back in the time, land before time. We didn't have that room. Now we have all 3 rooms. So in the new place. So yeah, all the boxes have been moved. It's moving is a dreadful thing. Let's not.
It's okay, Timmy. We know we moved around the corner, and it was a week long
We moved
process.
down the street, and it was still crazy.
Yeah.
So
It's like 5.5 years worth of stuff, and it's just like. And here's the thing: we've been good. We packed for 2 weeks beforehand, and like we threw out a lot of things. We gave out a lot of things. We took things place. We gave it. It was just like it was a real big cleanup of stuff. And we're like, great. We put everything to boxes. It's ready, right? And we're like, and there's a few things still. We'll grab while we're moving. We'll have a couple of days of transition, right? The guys that we're buying the place from, they'll be moving to a house, so they'll be moving. We'll be moving out. We'll be moving in. It's all gonna be good, and everything. And then like, sure, the boxes we moved in one day, and then like, oh, let's get the rest of the stuff. And that was 4 days of rest of the stuff, just like things. It's like the last car ride is just like pillows and nonsense and cables, and I'm like, what is this? I hate this.
It's the same thing that happened for us, right? We moved the big stuff once with our friends.
yeah, and then it's just a bunch of trinkets.
And then we were like,
Yeah, the trinkets.
it's just like maybe 2 trips back, there. And then it turned out to
Like,
this
6?
whole day of just carrying stuff from our old place to our new place. It was a whole
and
day.
you just keep
remember?
finding things that like, what is this? Why do I have
It's
this?
like,
Yes.
oh my goodness, under the bed. We never even looked there.
That's the thing. It's so many trinkets.
It always
This is
reminds me
insane.
of the George Carlin skit. Remember, everyone has so much shit. Take your old shit and put it in a bigger house, so you can put more shit in there.
Yeah. Now you got to go to see your neighbors. Yeah. It's
And
crazy.
then you get a storage unit to put more shit in there.
Yeah, and it's like, because it's like we have a baby daughter, and then my parents came over to help out with their older. So
Oh, that's
like,
great. I didn't
It's
know.
like it's great, and it's like, but it was just like it was chaos, and it's like it also was like emotional roller coaster.
Oh, I bet.
It because it's like things go wrong so much, and then like an hour later things go right so much that it's crazy. You're not believing this. Like, what is going on? Like,
Yeah.
like for instance, like we couldn't pick out a couch for the new place for a long while because we're like, should we get like a really good one but expensive? It takes a couple of weeks for them to make it, and then it comes over. Like are we have a baby? She's gonna annihilate it. Sure, we're gonna feel bad, or should we just get a cheap one, like for like a temporary? I don't know what we're doing. So like in the end, we're like, oh, here's a cheap one. My friend has it. It's good. And we're also we have a lot big families, so we're like, we have to have one room where people can sleep, and the living room people can sleep. But like this whole combination. But it took us forever to pick out a couch. So in the end, we're like a couple of days before, like, okay, let's just get this one. My friend has it. People can sleep on it. It's fine. So we get it. It's like, oh, it'll be in 4 weeks. We're like, oh, bloody hell. Or fine, we can survive without a couch for 4 weeks. No problem.
Was it a couch quality?
No, it's like a medium, it's like a Polish made whatever thing.
It's like
It's
a
actually
med
really
couch,
nice.
medium.
It's
Yeah,
a Catholic
it's-
couch if it's Polish.
It's true. It's true. There's little crosses hidden.
No, it's everywhere. The pattern is
everywhere.
just crosses.
It's just crosses everywhere. But it's actually a pretty good couch. Just
Okay, good.
So but the thing is, like, so we're like, okay, 4 weeks. Anyway, last day of moving, and this is like we're moving still stuff, and tomorrow we're gonna clean up the old place and move the trinkets still. And so so Emma's like, I don't even wear. I think I was supposed to go to work, and I'm like figuring things out, and Emma's calling me like, oh, the couch coming tomorrow. I'm like, what? I said, the couch coming tomorrow. It's good. It's perfect. Like, we're moving in tomorrow. The couch will come. But that's okay. It's fine. The next day, I think I come to the new place to bring something, and Emma's like, the couch is coming in 15 minutes, and the guys are saying they're not bringing it up to the bed.
Traitors,
apartment.
couch traitors.
Because we kind of looked at the delivery, and there wasn't an option to have it delivered up, and there was like a kind of larger price. So we kind of figured, like, I guess it's delivery upstairs. Whatever, it's fine.
Who's gonna move it upstairs then?
So the guys, and they say they're just gonna drop it in front of the apartment, like on the sidewalk,
On the streets.
on the streets. I'm like, what? And it's like 15 minutes. Like, what? And I'm not at work, so I'm just panicking. Like, who am I gonna get? Like, I can't carry this up. I'm just by myself. My parents are gone. Emma's in the old place cleaning up with our baby. I'm like, what? So I call up my colleague, like, man, can you leave work for like half an hour? Can you please help me take this couch?
Yeah,
He's like, okay,
makes sense.
it's fine. And this is like, I think it was about 4ish, so it's like rush hour. Everyone's leaving work and everything. So I'm just like, and dude, I was, I think, somewhere else. So we arrive, me and my colleague, from two different places, exact same time as the couch comes. Like it was perfect. Like I was like, what is happening? And the guys come out. He's like, yeah. They take out the couch. So dude, the suffering. The couch was like millimeters perfect to get it up. Like it took about a half an hour. You'll see when you'll see the stairs though.
It was like the episode of Friends. Pivot.
It was exactly like that. And the thing was, the couch was kind of wrapped in cardboard and sort of like a nylon, which was super slippery on the hands. And we had to take it vertically and just like, and then to get it into the living room, like it was like if it was 1 more centimeter larger, I would have to like cut up a wall to get it in. It was ridiculous.
It sounds extravagant, all these activities.
Dude, it was like, and
what floor is your new place on?
Oh, just the first floor.
Okay, then I guess it's.
Oh, nice. First floor. That's good.
But like not American first floor. Wait.
I know, European.
No.
Like,
European first floor.
So you go ground, then 1.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it's
so you're instantly just
higher.
like, just boop, up.
Yeah, well, yeah, but yeah.
So no need for elevator either, right? For walking.
You can use it like, yeah, if you want to, like if you.
Interesting. I didn't know you're on the first floor.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You guys can come see it soon. But it was constantly like that, man. Like internet and everything was just like all go wrong. And then, but the funny thing is, I was thinking like this. I was talking to Emma. Like I think me and my wife make a good couple because of the way we panic is like different times. So let's say I panic before something happens, right? My imagination gets the better of me. I'm always scared of all the possibilities. Like the internet guys come like, oh, what if that's not gonna work? What if the cable's not gonna work?
You think of all the maybe negative possibilities, right? And so then I'm stressed and I can't think, right? Well, Emma's like, oh, it's gonna be fine. If something's going wrong, we're gonna fix it. And everything's gonna be fine. Blah blah blah. It's she's the one that calms me down and puts me in the right place. While when things go wrong, I'm completely level-headed because I'm like, I know what went wrong. I know how to fix it. I'm like in problem solving. But while Emma's like, oh no, everything's wrong.
That's exactly like Jake and me.
That is really similar. Yeah.
That
everything
is the same.
Gone. And it's like, and I'm like, it's fine. I'll fix it. It's not a problem. I know what to do now. So yeah, hilarious.
Yeah. Oh, we can talk. Well, maybe it's take too long time.
Well, no, it's okay. What do you want to say?
This reminds me a little bit of the whole situation where we got locked out of our apartment.
Oh my goodness.
Oh yes,
but
this was.
I just wanted to say that's exactly like Jake and me because Jake is an overthinker and he worries about things that are like 30 years in the future. You know, oh my goodness, what if our children don't get into college? You know, it's like stuff like that.
Oh, I haven't worried about that specifically, but you're saying
well, you are going to now.
Well,
I'm sure
it's about time. Yeah. He's not
but yeah, and I'm the kind of person who like freaks out. The moment something goes wrong, I'm like a mess. And then Jake is like, just calm down. We'll figure it out. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say they reminded me of the key thing because we got locked out of. I got locked out of the apartment. I couldn't even take the key out. It was stuck in the whole lock.
Yeah.
And
like it broke off, right?
No, it didn't break off. It just I couldn't take it out, and I couldn't spin it left or right. But I wanted to say that surprisingly, in situations like that, I really don't get nervous or freaked out. I get more in the sense, like in this different mode where it's like, oh, now I have to, think of all the things I need to do to get this done, and I think a little bit in the future, like, when could this be done? Will it be done by 2? 3? Will I have to sleep in the hallway? Maybe. I just think about these things and I'm totally calm about it. But I'm like, okay, if I have to, I have to, that kind of thing. And then it's just like, okay, do this, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 4. We're done. Here's a small fortune for your services.
You held up well with the situation.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you were pretty good.
Yeah.
Even
Master Phil came back from Japan to help.
Yes, everyone helped.
Yeah, I was gone, back. Luckily. I came for the most important part, which was when the guy who came to save us started drilling the lock. It was 11:15 p.m., and we live in a building, so he was doing it outside in the stairwell.
Yeah, in the hallways.
And the sounds were demonic.
It wasn't like, the classic, it was like, like that.
And I was just, I was
and now
so
imagine that with
embarrassed.
Echo, like 20 times of reverb.
Yeah.
They didn't want to come out like peeping heads.
Oh yeah. Many people came, but I actually wanted. No, I wanted people to come and see what was happening because then they can see for themselves that we're in trouble. We're not like just doing it for fun.
Not thieves.
And the first thing I did when he finally let us in the apartment, I sat down and I wrote a message to the neighbors like, "We apologize for the noise, but it was urgent. We needed to get in," and I posted it downstairs so everyone could see it.
We should have made like a little guest book, like sign your name if you were okay with this. But I wanted to say, you were saying worst thief. Yeah, I wanted to say like, it's just proved to me like how difficult it is to break into someone's apartment through the front door. Yeah. It's amazingly difficult. Like this guy had all the tools at his disposal. A professional. Yeah. Took him a while to figure out how to get in there. Now imagine you trying to be a thief.
Yeah. And we don't even have the fancy door. We just have the regular door.
Yeah, you don't have like the high security one.
No, we just have the regular lock, regular door. Really like vanilla.
I guess it depends on the door because when me and Emma got locked out, the guy came and he just like kind of hit it in a way and it opened.
Well, I also think
so my door sucked.
You were super lucky though because I think that your lock was probably fine. Our lock was old and broken. That's why he was.
The funniest part though is that when he drilled the lock, he eventually actually had to break in like physically nudge the door,
style.
With crowbars. Because the lock was so old that it wouldn't budge even when he like drilled through it.
So it was.
So he could have like saved time and noise.
But he didn't know,
Oh, just like
but he didn't. Yeah, he didn't know.
He just kicked it open.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
And my other favorite part was also calling for these guys. So here, it's like they have these services called like emergency locksmiths, right? Who come 24 hours, right? Interventions. And you think, it's great. This is going to be a 24-hour service. It's professional. I call, I pay a premium, but they come. I went through 5 people just to get like someone who was willing to come here. All of them were
What time was this?
It was like 10 p.m., something like that. 10 p.m. Which it's like a late, but 24 hours. Come on, if you write that. And my favorite was just like call after call was like, so what happened? What's the lock? And then immediately when they said like this, what's it called? Protuprovalna, which is in Croatian like anti-theft.
Yeah.
Locks. These are like the newer locks.
Those are like security doors with like extra,
They're not the old
bolts and
school
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what that meant. And I looked at the door. Our door knob, it looked like that. So I was like, yeah, it's the one. They're like,
oh
no. And they're like, no way. It's like, I don't have the tools. No. Oh, I'll refer you to my colleague. And he refers me to a colleague. Call the colleague, and it's the same thing, And then I finally figured out, I shouldn't be saying that, right? I asked you, like, that's not our doors. And then the same thing. And then finally, this one pro guy was just like, I think it's this. I think it's that. I'll be there. Here are my prices. Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was just surprising
really
how many
decent.
people were like 24/7, but it's like they don't even feel like coming out.
Yeah.
They should have like this is a funny thing is like you're describing the door. Like technology would solve this immediately. Just like if they say, send me a picture,
And
Exactly.
But my favorite part is also like, how in the world should I be a door expert when I don't think about doors 99% of my life? Maybe even
it's like
99.9.
what do you describe? The shape, like the handlebar.
The thing is though, like I think we noticed that the guy charged us so much that they get so much money for doing those things. They can be cherry picking, and if it's like, you know what, I don't feel like doing that tonight. It's like, just get someone's going to call tomorrow. I'll get probably double the price.
I think that's what my colleague told me too.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's so true. They're describing the doors. And it's like, how am I supposed to know what kind of door it is? I don't know. It's a door.
It's a brown door.
With a gold handle. The gold handle.
Get me in. Paco's hungry.
Oh my goodness. He was very traumatized by the event.
He's traumatized by many events, I would say. Most events. But yes, he was. His tail was like poof, poof.
Yeah. Very dramatic.
So anyway, that was our recent story with the break-in. With the door.
Okay, Jacob.
Oh, yeah. So now I'm going to visit you. I'm going to find out you actually live in someone else's apartment. You're just pretending you forgot. It's like,
and the best
like twice
right?
bigger. This is ours. Yeah, we just locked out.
So listen. What are you drinking today? What are the drinks on the show?
So I went with a spooky can. It's called Hawks. I think it's a brewery. I'm not sure.
I didn't see the pictures, so I don't know.
Oh, okay,
I can show you
the pictures.
See, they have little
lovely, nice.
They're both ciders because it is the season of apple, autumn.
Nice.
And it's the season of spookiness and muertos and death and such things. And this one is called Dead and Buried.
Oh, I like that one.
A mixed berry cider. And it's actually pretty cool. I like it. I don't know if this actually has alcohol, to be honest. Because
Does it taste like
it does. It's just
berries?
4%. It's you know, you have these ciders, and a lot of times they're too sweet, or they're just like a weird flavor. This one's like tastes like a kind of grapey juice kind of thing with alcohol. It's not bad. I like
Solid.
it.
Nice.
Good on you people.
That actually sounds really nice.
And where
I would try
are
that.
these guys from? That's another question I always ask.
The UK. I think
UK.
the lady at the store said they're like an offshoot of Brewdog, but I don't see no Brewdog written here. So
Maybe it's one of those like
that could have been
low key offshoots. They don't write.
produced in Great Britain. Hawks.
Does it
Druid
say
Street.
Scotland?
Oh no. This is Hawks here, London. Druid Street. So a bunch of druids made this.
Interesting. They were like,
Potions.
Magic. Let's make
So made from real. Made
That's
from
how
real
druids sound.
apples. Yes, let's make cider and put berries in them, and then put the magic ingredient
And the baby's hand.
and the baby's hand. Oh, are you talking about The Witch, the movie? Okay, no, so here's the description:
Oh, no.
made from real apples, body rich, fruity, texture smooth, juicy, finish balanced, refreshing. What?
Variety.
Variety.
Oh, varieties of apple. Look at Braidspun, Brimley, Gala. I have that Pink Lady. Ooh, that's a premium.
I
one.
need these apples.
Pink lady.
You never had Pink Lady?
No, the
You
apples.
see, yes, you have. Those are like the regular green and
They're very
red.
pink and green.
Yeah.
All I know is Red Delicious,
The
green.
witch apple.
That's all I know. Green and red.
You're like, yeah.
The one from
I've met
Snow White.
like people like you. Yeah.
Yeah.
With little,
No,
little
listen.
otters on the bottom.
No. I know there are different kinds of apples. I just don't remember the names.
Okay.
So what do you go when you go to the store? Where you just go like apples?
He just likes green apples.
Yeah, green.
But
Oh,
you
like
know,
Granny
you have
Smith?
greens
Granny.
that are like really sour, like Granny Smith, and then you have green, which is like
Delicious.
green delicious, which is like
Green
really
berets.
sweet.
I think I like Green Delicious.
Yeah, those are like the best.
Yes.
Mm.
What about you guys? What are you guys drinking? What do you have?
So
I already drank mine, but
I drank pretty much half of mine too. So we figured today, since it's a special episode, we'd go for a drink that we both like, which is a gin and tonic.
Oh, fancy
So we're
that.
going for some just classic gin.
also I don't drink beer, so
That's true. You don't drink
I
beer
don't really
too,
like
so-
beer.
Oh, no beer at all?
No, not a
But
fan.
you like ciders.
I like ciders and I like porters, but
The rest is
But tis the season soon. The winters.
yeah.
brewing. Winter's brewing.
But we were
Brewers.
we were in the store and we were like, should we just get gin and tonic?
Yeah.
And that could work. We
That's good.
have become aficionados as of recent with
Gin and tonic.
Yeah.
The official gin. Is there a club? Do you have a test to go through to become?
Oh no.
Oh, it's just okay.
We just
You
got
should
drunk
do
You
a
just get
couple
some
times.
gin and you just get some tonic and you combine them.
Speaking of, so last time you were here, I got you to try. Well, I don't know if that one was really good because it didn't look as good as the other ones that I had in town. But you had a tonic espresso.
That's right.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right.
What are your thoughts?
I have to say, the place was great. Nice atmosphere. I'm sure their other products are good. It's a great intro.
You know where this
No,
is going.
I don't agree because I asked these people because they have a menu of cocktails, and I went like I was being a Mr. Fancy Pants, and I'm like, I'll have an old fashioned, and that was not an old fashioned. And the other one I went and this is a classic.
You mean the
classic
old fashioned
cocktail.
that Don Draper drinks all the time?
Does he drink an old
He
fashioned?
does all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm on episode 7.
Okay, well, you'll learn.
And then I asked for another classic, White Russian, and they brought this bizarre drink that was weird. So I'm not, I don't know if these guys.
Okay, maybe
Know
not.
what
But
they're
anyway,
doing.
I wanted the tonic espresso. I think the concept sounded really good, but I think that at the end of the day, it tasted more like a tonic, like Schweppes drink with with a dash of espresso. It didn't feel like a nice solid blend of the two. I would have loved more espresso, just a bit of tonic. It was the reverse.
Well, there's a thing that the other place that you mix it yourself and you can put the ratio as you want.
Oh, well, that would be great then.
So maybe we'll go there next time.
Maybe
we'll go there next time. Yeah. Okay. So we got our drinks in order. We got a theme song in order. Let's maybe try to talk about this movie. Let's give it a shot.
Maybe we should get there finally.
So the special guest, we gave the special guest the honor of being the chooser of movies, the chooser of movies, which is usually the host's.
So what have you cheesed?
I have cheesed. Well, this first movie is The King. It's a movie that came out yesterday.
Guys, good news with The King, right? I'm happy to say this is the freshest film we've reviewed so far. In the podcast.
Yesterday being the 1st of November. So
that's right.
We're recording this on the 2nd.
Yeah. So 2 days ago.
Yeah.
As far as the release.
And I'm reading this from the internet. It says The King.
The internet.
Tell us more about this.
The
interwebs.
I went to www.http and I found this.
I did, yeah. Well, it says The King is a 2019 historical drama film based on several plays from William Shakespeare's Henriade. So,
okay, so Shakespeare is involved today.
It is, yes. So, it being sort of a Shakespeare kind of day, we have gone in that direction to choose the second movie, which I will not talk about now.
But you can mention it. Everyone knows
Jacob is like shushing me.
No, I'm not shushing you at all. I'm not shushing you. I'm waiting for you to finish because I have something to say. But keep going.
Okay. Well, can I say though? Then the second one that we've chosen is the movie Romeo and Juliet from
Romeo plus Juliet. That's the official.
Yeah.
It's the modern times.
The fancy one with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Leo DiCap.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll get back to that later. But yeah, the first one that we watched it. I think all of us watched it today, maybe. And
I watched it yesterday.
Good.
It's true. All of us.
In the evening, I was notified, and I was like, "Oh, it is time."
That's good. We fell asleep yesterday.
Too much.
Yes, that's true. Yesterday was
yesterday was a holiday in Croatia, so it was a day off for us, which we of course
we
used
have
for
that
sleeping.
Well. What's yours? What is yours?
It's the Day of the Death. Actually, yeah, All Saints Day.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
the
ghosts, little ghosts, as we call them here.
Oh,
All
really?
Saints. Little ghost.
Dušička.
Yeah,
that's actually so nice. Isn't Dušička today though? Like today is like Day of the Souls.
Today is
Yeah.
Yeah, today is Dušička.
Yeah.
But no, we have something else. 1st of November. What? Wait. Let me see.
What is it?
Because we didn't have work either.
Well, there you
we
go.
both didn't have work.
Slovakia.
It's probably the same as here.
Oh no, it's All Saints Day.
All Saints Day. Yeah. And then today is like the Day of the Souls.
Yes.
Interesting.
Little souls. Dušičky. I don't
Those
know
are
what I call that.
like
Soulies.
Soulies.
Vičko.
Little
yes,
soulies. What I want to say. So you were talking about Shakespeare. You're talking about The King. We all watched it recently. Super fresh film. I just wanted to really quickly ask, since we're on this topic, we're going Shakespeare today, pretty much, in a way, right?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you guys, since we've all had different educational backgrounds, did you guys learn about Shakespeare a lot in school, high school?
A little bit in high school and then more in college.
You, Timothy?
Nothing.
Seriously?
No, I mean,
That's
I know
interesting.
of Shakespeare, but we never read a play.
Because
we never nothing.
I think in high school we read just like selected parts of the plays. So we got a little bit of Romeo and Juliet. We got a little bit of Midsummer's Dream. We got a little bit of what are some Hamlet, of course. The monologue.
So I guess pretty much we did similar stuff.
Yeah.
But I think there was definitely a lot of Shakespeare in high school for me. Like sophomore year, there's a big Shakespeare segment. Then senior year, there was also more Shakespeare. Senior year, we did like more in depth, like going through the text, like we did Hamlet, the whole play, and then we would read the traditional, right, English that Shakespeare wrote in, and then we'd have this also contemporary English, which would kind of help you to understand certain things.
Yeah.
When we would go through the story, but I remember there being quite a bit of emphasis on Shakespeare, so I was just wondering what you guys.
What's the so you're the most knowledgeable and most scholar of Shakespeare. As far as I understand, the significance is language and also theater, right? Like English theater it's got most of its roots in
Yeah,
Shakespeare.
I mean,
He's the one who kind of made it famous. Or because I don't know nothing. I don't think I watched besides Tonight like something that was specifically like Shakespeare,
Based
like
on
a Shakespeare.
Shakespeare?
Yeah, based on a Shakespeare play. Maybe I have, but I didn't know about it. But I never seeked it out or anything like that. I know the old English and the way they speak. I know
Right.
that. I knew the story of. I know a tiny bit of story from Romeo and Juliet, and maybe a little bit of is Lion King based on Hamlet? Or what is Lion
Yeah.
King based on?
Yeah, well, they say it is, but is that like confirmed? I don't know.
I think probably just inspired maybe by
Maybe inspired. Like that's as far as my extent, and
Yeah.
maybe a Doctor Who episode I saw once. Which
I don't have a lot of remembrance of what I learned from Shakespeare, but yes, I think you're right. Basically, I think at the time there was this thing called Elizabethan theater, right? So there's a classic theater in, I think it's in England, I'm not sure, maybe there where he's from, Stratford upon Avon, or maybe London, I can't remember. There's the Globe Theater.
Yeah,
Do you
it's
guys
in
know?
London.
Is it in London?
I've been there.
Oh, you've been.
Oh yeah, I've been there too. Yeah.
It's
you guys
the
have been there.
round building, it's like wide and
Yes.
has like beams,
Yes.
brown beams.
And did you go inside and stuff?
I've seen a play, and the play was, I think, King Lear.
Lear?
Yeah, yeah.
Nice. I didn't know that. So I think like that kind of was the style of plays back then. I think Shakespeare was, from what I remember, the reason why he's so well known is because he was a really, really big like innovator, pioneer of the English language, and his plays introduced a lot of vocabulary that we use today that he basically just made up.
He made up a lot of words. Yeah.
Yeah, in
You
his
gotcha.
plays, and so then he would throw those things in, and then those got spread into the culture, into English. I think that's one of the reasons why he's so famous, but also because his plays, were so well written.
Granted, he also wrote poetry, which was
Oh.
also very famous. Shakespeare's sonnets, right? Also very,
Yeah.
very, very famous.
And I think
And he got that weird thing on his neck, as far as I know. Cartoons.
that's exactly what. Yeah,
I just remember that I think
that's
he
what he's
was
famous
born
for.
and died on the same day.
could be.
Think
What, like-
so?
oh,
His
okay.
wife had a
Bullet.
cool name. Her name was like
It was Anne Hathaway.
Anne
no?
Hathaway. Yeah, same
Anne
as the
Hathaway.
actress. That's why.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, is
Oh,
she
no,
named
he
after
wasn't.
her?
Could be.
I remember watching some weird YouTube video. It was like a documentary thing where this guy, he was proposing a different accent because like
Oh
there's a
yes, I
certain,
remember that. Like the
Yeah.
how they thought the old English sounded like.
Yeah, because now it's like there's the theatrical, the Shakespearean way how to pronounce everything's like, the hard, whatever, not whatever. The
Well, I think
rolling
you're
Rs
thinking
are.
of like today. Let's say if people think of the British accent as being like this. It's called I think pronounced British or something, where it's just classic. A Skype call testing service, right?
I mean, know what I mean? Like the way that people do Shakespearean plays is the classical traditional way, to be thought authentic, right? But the guy was proposing that that's not the accent that it was originally played in. It's much more sing-songy and much more kind of Welsh
you know
kind
what
of
the-
kind of sound.
I think it's more like
Actually, I've heard many times, and I
Sounds
read
like
it
dwarves
somewhere,
doing Shakespeare.
that the American English is actually more
Yes,
what was spoken like back then.
that's what I heard too.
Yeah,
I heard
and
it-
then the British kind of like came like this British English came out of this like posh accent that they adopted to just be like
Yeah.
the aristocracy kind of pushed the trend of it.
That's what I heard too, and I heard that
Yeah.
actually British English was more closer to Southern American English, which
Yes,
is very
yes.
fascinating. But
And
that's what I'm saying,
you-
Tim. That's what those guys. You should see the video that you watched from those
Yeah.
guys. They sounded like it was more like a piratey type.
Yes,
sound.
and it wasn't so sharp and it wasn't so strict. It was much more fluent. And then one of the things that they kind of like was showing as proof is when you do it that way, things rhyme more in the actual plays than when you do it like the classical traditional way of the
Yeah.
Shakespearean play. So that
So
was
guys-
interesting.
The guys,
So while
yeah.
we're at it,
Yeah.
we can also mention maybe that the king is not spoken in this Shakespearean
Oh yeah, it's
verse.
just typical.
It's a normal dialogue.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Well, here's the thing: is this movie based on the Shakespearean thing, or is it like a between the actual historical events and then?
As far as I read about it, Shakespeare wrote a lot about many of the Henrys, the kings in British history, right? And I guess
100-year-old war.
Exactly, yeah. So Henry V was one of the most famous ones when it comes to that certain war.
He's basically like Kurt Cobain, you know. He
yeah,
died young, you know. He didn't have a lot of, you know. He was just like, you know, like that's what I'm saying. Like we were talking about this as
yeah.
Because we're talking about this as the movie ended. We're like, you know, you have like, you know, he was great and he did great things, but he died also very young and he didn't have a lot of time to
Unfortunately.
screw up.
And the funny thing is, like, if he hadn't like died that young and that unexpectedly, I think the 100 Years' War would probably
be over.
Yeah, be over earlier.
He'd probably like smack the French.
Yeah,
I don't know. The movie led me to believe he was too perfect. He was like,
well, the movie I think focuses on just this one victory that is his most famous victory, the Battle of Agincourt, or I don't know what it's pronounced, but something like that.
I don't know how to pronounce it either.
So that was his like biggest victory because it was like sort of like a unexpected victory in a sense.
Yeah.
And so the movie kind of focuses on that, and then later, through that victory, on his union with Catherine. What's her name?
Catherine
Lily Rose.
The Valois,
Depp.
I think Valois. The Valois.
Johnny Depp's daughter. That's who he married.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Time traveling Johnny Depp's daughter.
Oh, that's her.
Yes.
So
yeah, that's her, the actress.
What did you guys sort? Yeah, you go. I've been talking for.
No. It's okay. No,
You go.
What are your thoughts on The King?
That's true. Yeah.
Did you enjoy it?
The movie? Or,
yes.
or Henry V?
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson, the king of pop.
We were actually watching it today, and I was like, oh, I can already tell this is going to be one of those gory movies, you know? And
what? Really?
No, it's just that.
Like, what's a gory movie? Like, what would you?
Where there's a lot of blood and a lot of like sticking one's sword into someone's heart and stuff like that. And anyway, it did have some of those things, right? It did have it. Obviously, it has it.
There's a bit of blood. Yes.
There is some blood, you know. But I actually, I was kind of half watching it because I find it very hard to just sit in one place for 2 hours and 20 minutes when I'm at home. But I actually did like it in the end, and I think it did it some justice. I think I really like sort of the mood that it was set in, and like this whole medieval feel to it, very gloomy, very, you know, a lot of dirt, and the streets are like dirty, and everything feels like kind of like just gloomy. And my comment after the movie was that it feels like a really decent movie for Netflix, right? Yeah. So that was my
takeaway.
Anything particular that you might have liked? Like, is there anything specific that spoke to you for the movie, or was it just like overall kind of the same? I
mean, you know what? I'm not a movie aficionado like you guys, but I do have some things that I like about movies where I can recognize something that has some value, or where you can tell, oh, this cinematography is beautiful and stuff like that. I didn't really get the feel from this movie that it was like a lot about cinematography. I think it was more about the fact that, you know, you get this actor who's kind of all the rage now. He's very famous. He's done a lot of movies recently.
About Timothée Chalamet?
Yeah, him. Yes. Yeah. He's a good actor. Like, I thought he was really, really good. And I think maybe just the idea was with this whole historical dramas that have been coming out recently, I think, you know, Netflix wanted a bite of that. And I think they did a good job. But was I really like in awe after the movie? Not so much.
Was there anything like in the movie that maybe interested you more than other aspects in the film?
On a personal level.
On like a personal level, like when you watch, you think it maybe related things for yourself, like, this is interesting, or like, wow, I can't believe that what it would be like, let's say in history, living that, or wow, being a king, or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, I always like to look at costumes, especially like in historical movies. And it was really not so much the guys' costumes, but like the ladies, they wore costumes that I haven't seen before in
I didn't
movies.
actually notice.
In those kind of like medieval movies. So
I really
obviously,
like the French, the princess. She had a really authentic French,
yeah.
15th century. That was pretty cool. I dug that. I remember that from like French medieval
This is not
movies.
costumes, but I thought that the armor of the Robert Pattinson character was. I would want a suit of armor.
His
I have some
armor was
beef.
beautiful. His armor.
I have some beef with the armor though.
Okay.
Why?
I don't know. Okay.
I think it has it has a symbolism behind it, because as we saw, he was not very he wasn't a very good warrior, and you have this armor which is too perfect.
You're talking about
The
the French prince. Oh, we
French
don't know that
prince.
he wasn't a good warrior though. He was just kind of stuck in his
Yeah, we
mud.
do.
I mean, he was like slipping in the mud. I mean, come on.
Well, yeah, but that was because of the armor thing. Like that was like wasn't that like the
That
whole
was the
thing?
whole
Like
thing.
I don't know.
with the
I read
armor.
it as symbolism of like
Oh,
his
okay.
armor being so perfect that tells you that he's not really fighting any,
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
battles,
Could
anyway,
be, yeah,
sorry,
could-
I interrupted you there.
No. My beef is like there's some great things about this movie and some things that kind of like they took some things really realistically and they portrayed it actually, as far as we know, accurately to medieval warfare. But there's one thing that keeps happening they need to fix in movies is that people don't just wear armor. They have colors in them. How else would you know who is the enemy?
Yes.
Yeah, that was Jake's beef too.
I was so annoyed. Like,
I
come
was
on, please.
watching the film, right, and we were watching the movie, and I was thinking, like, how in the world do you know who to kill? I was thinking, like,
Yeah.
That scene where
What?
it gets really crowded, and Jake was
And no
like,
one even has a shield. Like, at least if you had a shield, you have
because
your...
I was taking the film that was like very historic accurate. I was wondering to myself, like, how do you know who to kill? Because if someone if
Exactly.
someone is coming at you, it could be just your
Yeah.
ally.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't know who to kill either.
Like, if you have, like, a knight's duel and you have two sets of armor and you're doing the, with the horses thing, like, it's understandable. But even then, they had, like,
But they must have
ornaments
had
on the
they
horses.
must have had
and,
some
yeah.
distinction that you would be able to instantly tell because it's advantageous for both sides.
Yeah. Usually you would have colored tunics, that go beneath on the armor or
Exactly.
below the armor, and
Yeah.
that's where you can and
I
they could have
learned
easily
that.
done that for the movie. They could have like they're attacking, right? And they all have their colors, but once they get in the mud, the colors are mudded, and now it's like, oh, okay, so we don't know who's who. Like,
difficulties.
that's difficulties, like, but now, no, they're all just like gray,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I get it, it's gloomy, it's medieval, it's sad, so it must be gray, but one of you, please put some colors on these people.
yeah,
It's like I want it to be like an RTS game, when you're playing like Red Alert, you can see blue, good guy, red bad guy.
So
It's
something
good.
that was interesting to me in the film in general was, of course, you have all kinds of movies, historical movies, especially like movies that take place in this time period, 15th century, stuff like that. It can go multiple ways, right? It can be done well, it can be done accurate, it can show one facet, another facet. What was kind of cool about the movie was that you did get a pretty decent sense that for centuries, in history, a lot of what happened in kingdoms and how they were run was really based on self-interest and this sort of like extreme politics of people being very, very uncertain of what other people are thinking and what other people's motives are. And I think you had a lot of that in this film, which was kind of a cool
I think it was
aspect.
really interesting just thinking about how immediate today's politics are. Like when someone does something, it immediately just echoes around the world. Whereas back then, it's like,
Right.
some French guy does something, and then 2 months later, the word comes to England, and they're like, "Oh,
He did that.
Yeah, he did that. Oh, that's horrible. We're gonna attack them." And then 6 months later, they finally get there. It's like
And then it's like
Yeah.
war has begun.
no wonder the war was like 100 years long.
That's actually a good point.
Yeah, it took a while.
Yeah.
But it's funny that you mentioned that. Is like that's something that I took as because something that I didn't like about the movie is that I couldn't somehow relate to the main character. It's just that sort of the problems and that stoic the importance of, you know, getting the throne and thinking about these important decisions about the country kind of thing, so unrelatable to me. And just thinking like, I so don't care about this man's problem. Like these are stupid things. Like thinking about like how happy I am to be in modern times where, like, one thing, I don't have to go and kill people because it's wartime. That was the big thing. I was like, oh God, I'm so happy I don't have to do this.
Right?
But secondly, it was just like, it's so far removed from, like, you obviously have people who inherit, you know, businesses from their parents or from their family, or you know, maybe inherit like a country. Some countries that still have monarchy or something like that. But most people, you know, you don't get a lot from your parents. You just, you know, you start your life, you go to work, and, you know, it's your own, you know, wealth, and you decide thing, and that whole weird pressure coming from you know.
So you're saying it's like really strange, like how his problem that he inherited is something so unrelatable in a sense.
So unrelevant, and so like I don't care about it. Like it's like that's your problem. Like like I don't find that as noble. Okay, you know, like a noble story to read. Like, this man, he is given the responsibility young age.
But listen,
he did something with it.
I want to say
I don't care.
I didn't know, but the funny thing is, I didn't even look at the movie like that at all. Like,
really?
No, I didn't. I don't think even the movie was trying to show. Maybe it was, but to me, it wasn't trying to show like the noble act of this man. For me, what I kind of found interesting was that the whole movie was like trying to, in a sense, show you about how, like, okay, you know, you're this person, you get this responsibility, and it's like, well, tough luck. You know, you were born at this time, and you happen to be born a royal and like the top of the top in a country, and now you have to deal with these things. And I kind of got a lot of like apathetic feeling from a lot of the characters in the movie that like it made me think about like, oh, you know, it can go a lot of different ways, and let's say how people like run a country, especially at that time. It's like, you're kind of inherited that you have to be the man of England, but maybe you don't really care, you know, but you just have to do it.
I think for me, the way I looked at it was that, you know, he, obviously the movie kind of like leads us into thinking that this other brother is going to be crowned king, right? And the reason I think why his father, Henry IV, wanted the younger brother to be crowned king was that because he would like continue his policies, and basically his policies were just letting other people decide what should be done with the country. As you can see, he had this whole court of like bishops, right? And they were like dictating, you know, this thing with France and what should be done next, and this is an offense or whatever. And then in comes Henry V, and now he's like totally doesn't want to continue on that road. You know, he even had those guys executed. Now he's like showing, I don't want to be like my father. I want to do something for my people.
He was a very sad man.
He was very, very
He was
emo.
so emo at the beginning. He was like Kylo Ren. He was like, oh.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, like, he's drinking and whoring, but he's all sad. He's like, I don't
He's sad.
I must do this because
it's like, I'll do it, but so sad.
I'll drink. I'm a whore. It's okay.
The funny part is like he doesn't even get happy later. You know, he's just like,
there's a
whatever.
moment where he gets gifts, where he gets like, and he's smiling, and he's sad. He's emo's king again.
And he's like, I'm gonna re-gift this gift immediately.
Immediately. But the funny thing is that you say that, like, you know, he did something, but in the end, it ended up the same thing. He was still manipulated to doing whatever the council wanted. Did you see? I don't like. I was proud of myself. I saw that twist like at the beginning of the.
I didn't. Nice,
No,
good
what?
job.
Which
The
one?
man was shifty.
I saw
The
it.
man was
You saw.
shifty.
I commented on Jacob, and I said like, I think this man, there's gonna be something with this guy.
Yeah.
No. I said, is he genuine?
Oh.
Didn't I say that? I was like, is he genuine? Yeah.
I was like, when he got the ball thing, I was like, oh, is this fake? Are they leading him in? And then they got the guy who was like, oh, I was an assassin. And then I was like confused. I was like, oh, so it's not like a plot of the, you know, I thought it was going to be like a plot and he's going to discover it, you know? I didn't think it's going to be all the way at the end when he's like,
I thought it was going to be
stabs the man in the back.
the Sir John who's going to be like shifty.
Oh, really?
No,
So
Sir John was-
Sir
No,
John.
I mean, I had my doubts about this other guy, but Sir John was also kind of weird in a sense.
Right. Well, again, like the thing for me that I noticed was this whole idea of, I can't imagine like just the saturation. Like today, of course, we have, you know, politics that are crazy. most of the time. But I can't imagine just the saturation of the politics even back then, you know, because it was so like people kind of like this, the manipulation. And imagine if you're the king, you really like are easily, either you're easily persuaded to do certain things or you do it your own way, but you're gonna always, you know, hit walls because people are gonna just do as much as they have to do, like, you know, because they're like bound to it. But it sounds like a very super difficult thing to, you know.
I mean, like, but it's like, you know, like I don't believe in monarchies. I think feudalism and all that stuff was a stupid idea because in the end, you know, the council did rule. Like even you see this in an example. It was never, you know, the rulers. You can't. It's impossible, you know. And I think it's the same thing now. Like the president is yeah, he has some power and there's some kind of, especially like an American president, but it's not really their ruling or their leadership, you know. They're just the face of it, honestly. It's like there's so much to worry about and so much diplomacy to do and so many relationships to maintain.
I think
and
also
so many
another thing that
directions
just
to go
reminded me
to.
of the movie was just like in general in history, it's like you know, always see these feuds between like either countries and land and stuff, and you're just like, man, it's like, guys, can't you do something else? Like, why?
But it's like that was the way. Like that was it was like it's like a right by fight, you know. Like
Right.
you could invade a different country to get their supplies like that. And I'm not saying it was normal, but it was.
Right.
It was.
I'm just saying that, like, you know, it just reminded me of the sense of this whole, like, you know, idea of like conquering and stuff like that. And it's almost like, well, you know, you got your land and, you know, make it great, make it cool, make it great again.
But then again, like sorry, Paula, I cut you off. Sorry.
No, I just want to say, like, a lot of it was also based on honor. Because if Jake and I were also talking, watching it, when this guy, King, what's his name? Henry V, goes to talk with that, not Egyptian
French prince.
French prince.
Egyptian prince. That was the director's cut. They cut that out.
Yeah,
French prince. And Jake is like, why doesn't he just kill him and be done with it, you know? And I'm thinking like, yeah, you know, like he could literally just take out his little dagger and just, you know, cut him open. But you don't do that because that's not honorable. And, you know, the honorable thing is, come on, let's lead this 500 men to their deaths, you know? That's how we're going to settle it. So
that's just weird ways.
Yeah.
Well, it was
like one of the things that was explaining that is like, you know, like even with conquering stuff, like you don't really usually kill all the other soldiers. Like that would happen rarely. Like if it was some kind of personal attack or you wanted revenge or your men got crazy with a siege, you would do slaughterhouse. Usually maybe 20% of the defeating army would be killed max, and then they would surrender. That's pretty much, or they start fleeing. Like that's usually you could see it as a metaphor of two people fighting. You know, one of them taps out at one point. You see like, oh, I have no way of winning this. We're fleeing. You know, like that's what usually would happen in a battle.
Like they wouldn't fight till like every single one of them is dead.
Yeah, it wouldn't be Age of Empires.
Yeah.
Exactly. Going to their houses and their little town hall.
By the way, I wanted to say that scene when we were watching it, when they started catapulting the French castle, I was just thinking, Age of Empires, classic.
Exactly.
Burn the castle until you see the bar drop to zero, and then
and then send in some wool of those. So speaking of battles, I really like the violence in this movie. I like how unceremonious and
we're so different.
And how, like, because, like, I like that it avoided the classic sword fights because at this period when armor got really, really, really good, you only had a couple of points of actually
like
stab one. Usually it's neck depends on the chainmail, but usually it's under the armpit because that's when you had the looses. That's where you had the most chance.
True.
So a lot of fights, if you have a full set of armor, went to kind of like blunt force trauma kind of stuff. You kind of hit them in the helmet or in the heart or chest region and kind of, you know, break their sort of like chest in or something like that. So, and I really like even the brawl when he was like that usurper Welsh guy who wanted the ransom, the king to pay the ransom. The other guy at the beginning of the movie, like when you were fighting Henry, like that fight was realistically what people in armor would fight like. Or actually, it wasn't a lot of like in Hollywood movies, you know, when they're like stab with a knife through someone's armor, like that's
in
impossible.
slow mo, of course.
Yeah, usually you get to just hitting each other with the butt of the sword or with the sword, actually, just like smacking them
Right.
until you break in or find like a spot to hit. And like even the besides the not colors not showing, even the fights in the mud were pretty cool. But I really like the unceremonious killings, like when he in the end when he finds out that guy was like a
Right.
I like that
just
one.
stabs him in the back,
In the head.
with the
Like,
back of his head. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sink.
I like that. It wasn't very like epic or big violence. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, and no one questions it because he's the king. Of course, he can kill him.
Right.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was a traitor. It was
The
the
little
right
boy
thing to do.
there.
He's just looking.
Exactly. Anything that you personally connected to, or something that spoke to you, Jacob, as far as this movie?
No, I think I kind of said what I found intriguing about the film. Yeah, I guess it's more of just that sense of, when you're in some kind of a situation like this, I felt a lot from the main character, like Henry, that he was almost like putting up with whatever his cards were that were handed to him. I don't look at the movie like him being even that much heroic. Maybe he had some, sort of like feeling of being like, like towards the end of that speech with like England and stuff like that. And
But you have to remember, sorry, let me just jump in here. Maybe he wasn't heroic, but it was based on Shakespeare's Henriade. And he is the biggest, the most epic Henry out of all of the Henrys when it comes to
He's like the rock
Shakespeare.
star Henry.
Yeah,
I know there's also, I don't know if you guys are familiar, but Kenneth Branagh, the actor / director, he's a huge Shakespeare fan. And he did.
Yeah, that's why he made Thor Shakespearean. He directed
Exactly.
Thor 1.
And one movie we could have watched was his Hamlet, which, by the way, is, from what I remember, a very good rendition of Hamlet. And I think he also played Henry V. Also,
Okay.
the character. So I know that Henry V is quite a hot shot.
And again,
in history.
Kurt Cobain,
Yeah.
He goes, he defeats the French, gets himself Johnny Depp's wife, and then he dies of dysentery 2 years later.
Yeah.
This is sad.
What you gonna do? But
no, so there wasn't anything like super specific apart from that sense of that he was just trying to navigate through whatever he's been put in, and how difficult that is at that time. And especially like what I found interesting was, like, I was thinking about, like, man, back then, if you were a royal, sure, you had it pretty decent, like as decent as it could get. But still, if you think about it, the whole country, I mean, people were probably dying, bad disease, hygiene. People probably weren't in amazing spirits. It was relatively poor spirits, I would say. At least it could seem like that, So
I mean, that is like the common trope of the Dark Ages,
No,
I think there's a little bit of popular culture overshadowing and even this movie making a little bit more like, we're just in the mud eating it.
I know. I'm not saying eating them out. I'm just saying that, like, I'm sure that the times were harder, at least in general, I would say.
That's true.
Not necessarily eating mud, but like that, but that kind of milieu. And then you have to be a king, and you have to somehow lead a country or make certain decisions about the country. It just, to me, sounds like very, very, very difficult because there's so many different layers going on there,
Yeah.
And then also like the church and like so many different things happening in the background.
Sorry, just to make me think of like Monty Python. It's like, he's the king. How do you know that? He's not covered in shit.
But see, yeah. So I don't know. It made me think about sort of what it might be like to have been in some kind of position like that. And then just, again, those politics and the layers of self-interest and stuff like that. And that was something that I found personally.
How did you guys feel about the development? Because I think, to me, it was a weird switch from him being emo and like not wanting anything with the crown or leadership.
Yeah, that was
the best king ever.
It was just like, for me, it was a too fast of a character change, to be honest.
Yeah,
they did not go into depth with that at all.
It was I didn't understand the whole, like, I ignore my father, I drink, I have sex, and no, and then suddenly
it seems to me like he was the only thing that provoked him was this idea that his younger brother will get the crown. And then,
but I don't think it was.
Can you guys explain to me what in the world happened there? So he was like, oh, my brother's gonna be king, and I have to save you. I have to save your life because I'm emo. And then he saves his life by killing the other.
Did he want to save his life?
Yeah, he told him that.
No, he was. Here's what happened. So his dad tells him, "You're the oldest, but you're not gonna get the crown because you're a whoring drunken man." He's like, "Well, I don't want it anyway, so screw you." Okay, so little Tommen from Game of Thrones, he's like, "Papa, I will make you proud. I will crush this Welsh bastard, bastard, and he does rebellion." So he goes fight, and then for some weird reason, for some noble reason, I don't know if it's Knight John or whatever his name was,
Sir John.
Sir John, Knight John.
Was his handle on World of Warcraft?
Yeah, what is his wisdom? I don't know where's this coming from. He's like, well, all these people are gonna die for nothing because of my papa. He doesn't want to pay the ransom, so I'm just gonna challenge this bad boy here. Also, a side note, we're so lucky that haircut that he gets in the end and that guy has is popular right now. Like that's a normal haircut that guys have right now, that we can have actual haircuts from the medieval times.
He does.
Pista has a haircut.
He does.
I know. Yeah.
Shout out to Pista.
So yeah, Pista. So it's like it's fortunate we don't have to have like just everyone long hair because it's uncool. So yay to haircuts. But anyway, so he's gonna go fight him.
Lord of the Rings haircuts are the best.
No, they're not. They're too. Yeah. They're too. They're like, I'm a badass rock star, man.
I like badass rock star. It's good.
It's lame. It's like Johnny Depp with long hair, and he's like, never mind.
Anyway, so you're saying at this time, 2019.
What
you're saying that the haircuts were cool now, so therefore they're cool in the movie.
Yeah, no, what I'm saying that the
He's
filmmakers
saying we're lucky that those haircuts are popular now
because they can use them in movies and don't make it seem funny.
But did you see the nice fade that Henry V had?
He has a nice hairstyle.
It was like that was a decent haircut, man. Like that fade on the side.
It's very nice.
That's what I'm saying. You see, like they can use them now without feeling corny. Like give them a bowl haircut.
Yeah.
Like 10 years ago, giving someone a bowl haircut in Lord of the Rings.
Granted, they would really give them like a bowl haircut that was like so bad. Like this is now like this is a nice style now.
Yeah, this is now. It's like
exactly.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, let's save all these men so they don't have to fight like we fight, which is
what's
bizarre.
the motivation? That's the question of the character.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know because
let me Google it. I'm gonna Google it. What the
his younger brother obviously takes it as a spite. Like he sees it as like, oh, I'm the older brother. I'm gonna show Papa that I'm better, so I'm gonna steal your thunder. So he sees it that way. The other guy is just like, I want to fight. I don't care, and I don't understand Timothy's. Henry V.
Because
motivation.
I think they're trying to show that Henry V is like mature beyond his years.
It was a bit too much of a bit too much of what's his face Aragorn to me. Like it was too Aragorn-y, like the noble, honorable. But he looked so emo and skinny.
That's the strange thing. Like again, you guys are interpreting as honorable. I wasn't really interpreting as that. I was more thinking like, oh, he sort of understands. Like the context, and he understands like how things are done to a degree. So then he's realizing like, oh, fine, like I'll grow up and stop drinking and stuff and just sort of get over these things and just get it done. That's how I interpreted
it was just like, I guess, because there were moments like that when he's like going to fight that guy that made it not preachy, but it was like, oh, look at this man, he knows the truth, he's better than everyone else. Like there was that heroic side that was kind of conflicting with the portray that the actor was giving us because of his solitude and the way.
But maybe he
just was conflicting to me.
Really liked England and didn't maybe like
his father's rule.
The direction that the whole thing was going in. Because I mean I don't know what
did you get a sense that he was like doing noble things?
I mean, we saw one battle,
But in general, did he seem like a person who was like...
He was preaching about wanting to unite kingdom under one crown, right? That was his goal. And so...
I had a hard time believing him, like, in the sense of, like, yeah, sure, like, he thought that, but he didn't seem like a very, like, highly motivated person. He seemed.
I don't know. Maybe
like
that
I
was
said,
just
it could be just portrayal was kind of
the
giving
emo,
you the wrong. Yeah.
I guess maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's like this kid. He's a really good actor, but he's one of those actors who, like, you know, you have character actors, people who like Jim Carrey or Johnny Depp, who can really put themselves in like a weird character and completely transform themselves, right? And there's actors who are really good, who don't know how to do different characters. They play the same person anymore.
Yeah.
But they bring such a human gravitas to that character.
But they always play them the same way, right?
Yeah, they always they just play them as themselves, which is like, you know, like when I listen to like some of these actors who do play like that, like they say like that's the hardest thing, you know, like you can put on a character, put someone else's shoes on, which is great, but to be truly honest and bring that humanity into that character, you just have to play yourself, and you just have to, you know, go into your deep secrets. And this kid Timothy, he's really good at that. Like all the movies I've seen him in, he really kind of puts it in, like, I think like this biggest role. I didn't see Beautiful Boy yet, but I didn't see Call Me by Your Name, and I was like, I just know
him from Lady Bird.
We only saw him in Lady Bird, and
those are like minor roles, but you should definitely.
Granted, he played like a sort of like an emo guy there.
No surprise.
He's like also like gloomy boy, you know, like
gloomy boy.
Listen, Tim, was there anything for you that was specific, maybe that you
what would you
to,
point
or anything
out?
that you thought that was,
like I said, it was a conflicting. There were a lot of good things that I liked, and I think we talked about most of them, and a lot of like things that I know, like I said, I couldn't relate, and there were some grievances, and it was a flip flop kind of like things that were like, oh, this is very nice, and I was like, then I'm like bored. I don't know what's going on. I don't care. I think to say something positive, to bring it back to cinematography, I really like the use of natural light. That was like, there wasn't, I think there was maybe 3 shots where I could see the lighting set up, and most of the stuff, it was like, it felt pretty genuine as far as just.
That's why it was so gloomy, because I think it followed like the weather being like overcast and stuff like that. You can totally tell that it was naturally cloudy, you know.
Right.
And it's always natural light coming into the interior and the exterior.
Yeah.
There was never Hollywood lights.
One thing that was nice as well was that movies like this, I very much enjoy when the pacing is slow, in the sense that the scenes where people talk are very realistic and very slowed down, which is nice, because as opposed to our other film,
Oh my goodness.
like this is something that I actually like watching, where you're seeing, oh, you know, how are these characters interacting? How are they thinking? How are they processing? Those, yeah.
Guys,
So
I'm sorry. I have a little bit of a cold.
It's okay. Just
That's okay.
sneeze away.
I think we can. If you don't have anything else to say about this movie, I would say it's a good movie. There's something missing to make it great. I'm not sure what it is. I think.
Wouldn't you say that this movie is a little bit sort of...
I know what's missing. I think it's Robert Pattinson like taking his shirt off and glimmering.
I think that was...
shimmering in the sunlight.
Look at my spuckers, you English boy.
Yeah, and then crawling up the
I am
trees.
so healthy. It means healthy. I am so healthy. Healthy man. No, I wanted to say that
I live for 1,000 years.
the movie feels a little
Suck
bit...
on my vampire nipples. What?
It's one of those movies that feels like it's not like in a weird way, it's like a very low key movie, and it's almost like it's a small glimpse or a small chunk, you know, of this historical figure or something. It's not like here's the biopic or here's this. It's more like just like boop, here's a little piece. And it's like a little slice, and that's the movie.
Yeah.
I think I would
think
say...
like it's... Yeah, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
If no one will, I will. So listen. No, you go.
No. What I
Anyone.
wanted to say is like, it's, you know, it's based on Shakespearean play, which you guys told me. It's like, oh, Henry V, the rock star, he's the greatest, he's the best. And then it's like, this is a realistic portrayal of this. And then it's like, well, okay, what do we do now? I definitely like the whole thing of him being, he's great, but now he's been tricked by the government to do their bidding in the end, right? He kind of fixed it in the end, whatever. But it's still like, there's 2 directions that are kind of conflicting that... exactly what Paco said. So yeah, so yes, I agree. It's exactly what I was going to say.
Well, he was watching the movie with us, so he would know.
I don't think there's, you know, I think he said it perfectly. What about you guys? I think I
Sounds
cut off
good.
Paula.
I wanted to say that if you have Netflix, yes, watch the movie. I think it's worth it. Would I pay money to go watch it in the cinema? Probably not.
Probably not, yeah.
Which makes it a good thing that it's only on Netflix. So, yeah, I think it's good.
So you would say
it's a little
recommend
long.
if you have Netflix, check it out.
Yeah. I would definitely say that. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the better.
I would say check it out
productions.
if you're interested in historical context films. I think if you're not interested so much in those kinds of settings, I'd probably say you probably will get bored if you're not interested in
But
historical.
I think also it's important to realize that this is not a biopic. It's not based on historical facts.
No,
it's
I know.
Based
But it's
on,
portrayed that way, though.
It is.
But I'm saying
it's based on
setting-wise.
a Shakespeare's,
True.
play.
True.
Yeah.
And how accurate his facts were and the knowledge of them back in the day, it's also questionable. And also,
It's true.
the fact of having this liberty to portray it as an artist the way he wanted it to be portrayed. So
True.
I think that's also something to consider.
My biggest
Okay.
question with this movie is that is this just like sort of a random, like, oh, someone had an idea to make this movie, or was there some story behind it? Anyone did any research or no?
No, I do not
Okay.
know. I do not know if the director.
Well,
was
this is a
passion
great
project or
opportunity
was
for our dear
Honestly,
listener.
I thought it was going to be about King Arthur. Who said that? 'Cause we were discussing the movie, and I think Jake told me, it's like, yeah, it's a movie about King Arthur. And I'm like, okay, well.
An Excalibur.
No. And then listen, and he was like, you have to pick the second movie that we're going to watch. And I'm like, okay, well, let me Google this first one so I can see what it's about. And it's like, oh, it's based on this Shakespeare thing about King Henry V. I'm like, well, that's not King Arthur.
No.
So.
Different people.
King Arthur the First.
So anyway,
Also
dear
known as
listener,
Henry
maybe
V.
you can fill us in, I mean, clearly we could do our own research, but since you're listening and participating, you can just comment and say like, oh, this movie was because of this, and we'll be like, oh, you're
Yeah.
so right.
Also, please correct our falsities that we maybe have said.
We have many falsities.
Falsehoods.
We are false prophets.
Because we
The prophets must be cast down.
we did not put a lot of research into it, which I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but
No.
you're getting it as it is. This is we're learning.
Real deal.
Yeah.
We're Henry the 15th. We're real rock stars.
Yeah.
Podcast.
Long hair.
with haircuts.
It's true. It's true. We all have long
So
hair.
Tim, what are we going to do now?
We'll
about
play
our
a song that will be put in the edit, and then we'll just generically react to it.
Okay. So we're not
And,
keeping this
we'll
part.
be surprised. We'll be surprised.
Let me put a marker for myself so I know when editing.
No. But this is podcast. This is live.
Oh,
still.
okay,
This
well
is
then
what they hear.
We leave. We leave it. Yeah. So
No, I'm gonna call Johnny. So Johnny,
Johnny
play us something from the archives.
Johnny plays a song. That was a fantastical song. What'd you think? Great, right?
Ow!
It was. I've
yeah, that
never
was-
heard that before.
Me neither.
That
I mean,
was-
I probably
that was-
have.
I think
maybe.
that was the best one yet. I would say. I think whoever made that.
That is a high praise. That's probably because
Johnny-
I'm on this episode.
I think Johnny picked a special one for today.
Yeah.
I think
Johnny,
we can all
you did
thank
good.
Johnny.
I think
Sir
Johnny
Johnny.
is gonna get a raise. I think Sir
Oh,
Johnny.
yeah.
I think.
mean,
what are you
he's-
thinking? 10%.
He's our only
15%?
staff, so I think he deserves it.
Johnny's old school. Johnny's been with us for a long time.
He's been with us since the beginning, as they say.
It's going to be very sad when Johnny retires, I have to say.
But it's
We
okay.
will
Johnny's
miss-
he's still going,
Yeah, he's
going
kicking.
strong. He's going strong.
There he is.
I have no idea
waving to him.
who Johnny is.
Johnny plays all our records.
Yeah,
We
Johnny's
tell
been
Johnny-
with
He's
us.
the little person in
Choose your words wisely.
This came out wrong. I'll stop here. It's okay.
No, come on.
I didn't mean little person. I meant.
You meant he's the person? You meant he's the person?
Yes, he's a person. Johnny is a person. He's
Go on with the thought. I'm listening.
You know how when you were, I don't know if you had that, but when you were kids, and then you, like, I had this idea that when you put like a tape into the tape recorder, that there's a little person there who then plays
the thing,
it.
like,
yeah. So maybe that's Johnny.
Could be.
Johnny's a real person, but
I'm guessing you also never had imaginary friends.
You know what's funny? Actually,
no.
I
Okay, I guess I'm the only one
Did you
here.
have?
Because you guys are second kids. You know, I was the first kid, and I had to have some company.
Well, who are your?
Who's your imaginary friend?
I had an imaginary friend until my sister was born. His name was
Who?
Rudy. Rudy in Croatian.
Rudy.
Interesting.
What kind of creature was he?
He was a person. He was a little boy who played with
a little
me.
boy.
Really?
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
What did you play? I feel like it's like a weird
Nothing.
trick.
No, but I mean, when you're the only kid, and you know, you have to play by yourself. He would play with me. I don't know. Like, it was nothing in particular that I can remember.
I'm sorry. I'm just curious because I know of imaginary friends from American media, but I've never met anyone who had an imaginary friend. So I'm really curious.
Yeah.
But didn't you have also like a animal type friend or no?
No, I had like a plushy toy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but he was not like he was not live. Like I
Okay, you know the difference.
Go on.
This is
Well,
going
look,
so
Phil's not
badly.
here, so we have to drill someone.
No, listen, I actually have. Thank you for reminding me. I had, in a sense, they weren't really imaginary friends. They were imaginary.
He had more of them. Okay.
Yeah, listen, I had imaginary enemies.
His gang.
So,
Imaginary enemies. I have
Listen,
to write this down.
So when I was a kid, right, when I was around 11, 12, I was in love with. So I loved lightsabers.
I thought it was gonna be a girl, and then it's lightsabers.
No.
And she has an imaginary boyfriend that took her away.
No,
from
listen, lightsabers. I was in love with the Lord of the Rings, specifically, like, you know, weaponry, swords. Kind of like I knew everything about Aragorn. I knew his sword. I knew his little dagger that goes in the sheath. I knew about his small elven dagger. I knew about all his armor.
You knew about
his
Aragorn's
underwear.
elven dagger. That sounds so wrong.
But listen, and so basically,
did you carry a little dagger in your underwear, Jacob?
I didn't know.
In his sheet.
Yes, and so this is what I would do, right? So there was actually quite a lot of nights.
Oh, it was nights.
Okay. Wait. Listen. And I remember distinctly that it was like, you know, when it was snowy outside, I would go outside, and I also tried to make, you know, these like replica lightsabers. So you would get like a stick, right? And then you put it in like sort of like we built it like a little handle, so it'd be like a replica lightsaber type thing.
Okay, so it's a stick and a handle.
Exactly. And a stick in the handle, and I would go outside, and I would pretend that I was battling a lot of orcs, like in Lord of the Rings. And I would be like, I would pretend all the moves and like, slice an orc.
Yes. Did you know them? Like, did you interact with them?
But just playing pretend. No. But did you have
pretend?
Like, imaginary friend is someone who's
because
like,
Rudy,
you know that
Rudy,
person,
I talked to him. Like he was there, and he had phases, you know, like I would know, like he didn't go to kindergarten because he was sick or something like that.
No, I didn't have that. No.
Yeah, and I think he kind of went away.
You had like an arch nemesis, Jacob. I was thinking like this guy kept coming back. Like there's this guy. No. He's always outside, and you have to go fight
Demon
him
boy.
No, I just had general enemies. These orcs.
General enemies.
Dushichka was coming.
That sounds so gentle, though, Dushichka.
Mm-hmm.
It's true, a little Dushichka.
Anichka, Dushichka.
That melody is used so many
beautiful
places.
Right?
Yeah.
My mom taught me that one. I know 2 words.
That's your mama's name.
That's true.
Anichka.
Nice.
Anna.
Yeah, so I had general enemies. Tim, did you have an imaginary friend?
I was really racking my brain. I mean, definitely played pretend, you know, and
did you play pretend, Paula?
Play
I
pretend.
think everyone did.
Like pretend,
Yeah.
like pretending in scenarios, all kinds of
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
And I was
Are you
like, my
kidding me?
siblings were a lot older than me, so it was just me by myself.
I was like 18 moving to Zagreb for college, and I was like, in my hand, I was like, I'm going to Cambridge. I'm going to marry a prince, you know?
but you know what?
But of course, I mean, come on, we all played pretend.
Yeah. You know what the
Leading
funny
a
thing
double
is?
life when you can like talk to yourself and stuff.
Well, I still talk to myself. So
Yeah, or you know, I would be pretending that I'm a celebrity and then sit on the couch and be like, Oprah.
So here's
so
yeah,
funny.
I've done that many times. I pretend
Yeah.
I was in TV shows, just like the king of comedy. Listen,
Oh, yeah,
I wanted
exactly.
to ask you guys. I wanted to ask you guys: do you guys ever talk to yourself
I do, but you don't
out
hear it.
loud?
Out loud? No.
I do.
I mean, I do in the mirror, obviously, but that's just funny voices.
Oh no.
I don't do it out loud though, except when I swear in traffic. Except when I
Oh,
swear
yeah.
in traffic. Yeah.
Right.
I see people like you in cars. It's funny. Because you can't hear, you just see someone like
Just see the-
really shouting and just like, and
Yeah.
you know the language, so you know what they're saying. You can just see the vulgarity
Yep.
going. It's
No,
awesome.
I sometimes it helps to talk out loud to myself. I'm like, well, like, so what do you think about that? Well, I think.
Oh
this
really?
and that.
I don't
Honestly,
think I've ever done my entire life.
We've been living
like,
together now for like what 10 months. I've never heard him talk to himself.
No, I do it only when I'm on my own.
But he says that he does it when he's walking down the street, so that's a little
Yeah,
concerning.
yeah.
Is it concerning?
I think I do that.
You know, we're talking about like, you know, me like my imagination taking like, you know, going crazy. Like it's a lot less now, but when like before, like I would go somewhere, like something new would happen. Like I would like going to work and there's like somebody was coming new. Like I would have that whole day in my head run through as I was walking to work. And sometimes I would catch myself like having the conversation with the other people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's like
And
more
actually
imagined
speaking, and then you're like,
conversation.
and you look at people walking, you know, noticing that you're a crazy person because you're like, you know, you're emoting to whatever in your imagination. But you know what the funny thing is? Like
Yeah.
playing pretend, I actually remember the day when I was like, I think I'm too old for this. This doesn't feel right anymore.
What was the day?
I specifically remember I was like, because like I used to be by myself all the time because my siblings are older, so I would just like play around the house, like, you know, you take a gun and then you make up a game, right? They're like, oh, I'm a secret agent, and I would go to my dad's office, steal the documents, and then shoot some people and get out, you know, like a whatever classic play pretend thing. I remember I was like maybe like 12 or 13, and I was like, oh, like no one's home, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna play, you know, play pretend. And I took the gun and I was shooting a bit, and I'm like, this is not fun anymore. I think I'm too old for
Really?
this.
You
Like
had
I
a
specifically
conscious
remember feeling
realization.
like I don't enjoy this anymore. Like I can't do this. This is like, this doesn't feel right. Like
That's
maybe
really
for a
interesting.
movie I would do it, but like just by myself, like I don't enjoy doing this anymore. Like I'm done. I think this is it. I think that this
Well,
time is done.
I have a neighbor in my hometown who every time she sees me, she tells this crazy story. I mean, it's not a crazy story, but she always reminds me of it. I always feel so embarrassed. She tells me that she remembers me by like skipping down the street one day, and I was just singing some melody that I made up, like on at the top of my lungs, just singing like, "We're going to the seaside, yeah," and just like screaming it because I was excited that we're gonna go, you know, to the coast, gonna go to the seaside. And I was like screaming it, singing it at the top of my lungs, and like out of everything, because she lives right across the street from us. Like she has seen me grow up, you know, and everything. And that's like the only thing that she like vividly remembers. And she always reminds me of it. I'm like, I always feel
she
so
loved it.
stupid.
She just embedded that memory, and she
Yeah,
just keeps.
because she was like,
memorizing.
you were like, no one exists. You were just like, I saw you from all the way down the street, and you were just like running and
That's good.
screaming, and you were so excited.
You made
I'm
her
like,
day.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Those were
She
big
believes in
moments.
humanity again.
She
Yeah.
will never forget you because of what you did.
Yeah.
She's sad.
One
She
thing I
closed her
find
eyes.
annoying is that sometimes I like to listen to my own songs that I make, and I try to make lyrics and like melodies
Mm-hmm.
over, and it helps when you're like walking around and singing over it, you know. But then I figured probably people think I'm super weird, like, you know, singing over my own songs.
No, they don't, Jacob.
Really?
People,
No, I'm joking. They do.
Oh man.
but I think people really think I'm weird because like I listen to podcasts going to like, you know, work, and I would laugh.
That's right. You
know,
told me about that many
sometimes.
times. You laugh.
I
Really?
would laugh, and then I really like. That must probably seem crazy because I don't think
that's weird though.
Because I don't think people like. Yeah, podcasts are getting big now, but I don't think that's the first connection.
They might think that you're just like this strange man who's just like
because
remembering
like,
things.
I have headphones. yeah, I have headphones on, right? So I'm probably listening to music. Why would I be laughing? Why would I just all of a sudden just burst out laughing? You know?
Well, that was
in the
funny.
Middle of the street.
That was funny. I wanted to say there was like a little micro story I have. I was telling Paula earlier that I went to McDonald's yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Oh man.
And I went to McDonald's and I sat at the table and I was eating my meal and I was, speaking of which, I had my headphones in, right? I was listening
Was it
to
like lunch or something?
Dinner, and I was listening to a podcast while
Yeah.
sometimes I do this. It's actually not bad listening to a podcast while you eat. It's like interesting. It's like, entertaining.
Well, I've
And,
done that. Like McDonald's in a podcast. That happened a few times.
It's fun. Like when you're on your own, it's nice. And
it feels really weird just sitting there at McDonald's by yourself eating.
Right,
So
right.
a podcast
and it's
helps.
boring. It's more boring when you're just like by yourself.
Yeah.
And I want to say that people might have the connection, like this guy's eating McDonald's and listening to techno beats, right? Like people probably don't think podcast my first thing. But anyway, my story is this: strangest, probably one of the most bizarre things I've experienced so far. I sit down, I'm eating my meal, normal, listening to my podcast, minding my own business, very obviously private. Like I'm just listening to my own thing, doing my own thing, not bothering anyone. And then this woman and child come, and this dad, and they're like waving at me and saying like, hey, can we get your attention? They're like, hey, is this table free? And I'm thinking like to myself, like, no, it's not free. I'm sitting here, obviously. I'm thinking like, okay, I'm finishing up. Sure, I'll leave. If you really want to sit here, fine. And I get up and start to walk away, and they go, no. And the dad's like, no. Don't move. You just eat. And I'm like, okay. And I sit back down, and then the mother and the child are sitting across from me, like at the table. I'm like, why am I eating with these strangers? Makes zero sense. And the dad is like 3-4 tables down, eating by himself. And I'm thinking like, how does this make any sense? It's not helping them, not helping me. I was just going to leave. Would have been hell happier.
Well, I could have just switched with the dad. You could be alone on the other table.
Totally. And I told him that. I was like, do you want to sit here? Like where I'm sitting? I'm just going to go. He's like, no, you just eat. And I'm just like it made zero sense. And so I'm finishing my burger here because it's just like, it doesn't feel comfortable. It's awkward. I'm listening to my podcast, finishing my burger. I finish the burger. I leave and I'm like, bye. I tell them bye. No reaction.
Kiss them on the forehead.
Yes.
Goodbye,
Child, I bless you. I tell them bye. No reaction. And then I'm leaving. I put my tray away and I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And I kind of make a look at them, like a little bit disappointed, like annoyed, because like, what was this whole thing about? It made zero sense. And I'm looking at the dad, and the dad is making this face like, why'd you have to go? Like, you didn't have to do this.
What?
I'm thinking like, what kind of a bizarre situation is this? Like, I'm a total stranger to you. I don't understand. That's my story.
That's bizarre. Like, I mean, I've been in situations where I've sat close or at the table with other people when it's just too crowded. Like, even I would go like, okay, is this part of the seat? Like, I'm just gonna eat my thing. But the whole with the dad going there and then just sitting there.
Fine, if we're gonna sit all three of us stranger party, fine, I'll do it.
Come
but
sit
remember
next to me.
the guy in Graz when we went to Graz, and he was
That guy was
also
awesome.
crowded. We were sitting next to each other, and this guy comes and sits across from us, and he actually he overheard our conversation, and he actually ended up being really, really helpful and
awesome.
helping us around, like figuring out how to get around town and stuff like
Because
that.
he was like, you need help? Like, I'm from here, you need help? And he answered some questions, and he was super helpful, and was like, cool, thanks, man, so much, and he was like, I gotta go. Very helpful. But this was like bizarre.
Yeah.
Crazy. So you guys on gin and tonic? You still ranking
Going
in the...
strong, man.
Yeah,
it's much stronger now.
Jake made
I added
Jake
extra
made
doses.
a really sharp one.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's what is it? It's
like
proper gin and tonic. Usually it's like tonic with a little bit of gin, but this is like
This is
proper gin
half.
with a little
it's like
tonic.
almost like half, almost.
Oof.
What? Ew. Like not even
maybe
rum
not
and
half,
Coke.
half.
I never go half and half.
The funniest part is though,
it's like 30,
the funniest
70.
part though, look at Paco staring at us because he looks so disappointed. He's like, oh, they're gonna get drunk again.
It's 30-70, I'd say.
Huh?
30,
All right, okay,
37.
okay.
30-70.
Something like
1/3.
That's fine.
Is
I'm going
30-70
with,
1/3? I don't think so. 33 is 1/3.
Yeah, sure.
33.33.
So, guys, we have another movie we have to talk about.
Oh,
Oh,
we're
before
still in
we
the
talk
same
movie, I just want to say.
episode.
What do you want to say?
I wanted to say, I'm drinking another
Oh, yeah, please
yeah.
tell us. Please tell us.
cider. It's called the Doom and Bloom. It's a rosé cider.
Ooh.
This one,
about your beer.
oh god, the pilot's here. It's
Is
pretty
that
good.
made out of those rosé apples? No. Pink lady.
It's the same apples again.
Pink lady. Pink lady.
It's the same
Rosé
apples
apples.
again. Rosé apples.
I just accidentally kissed this net and I realized it's like kissing Phil.
Kissing Phil.
Exactly.
Ew.
Phil, are you
That's
still
something.
here? There you go.
Gotta wash my mouth.
Oh, I can be Phil. Hey, talk about something.
Okay, so I love
Wow.
apples.
Yeah.
That's
great.
Oh yeah.
Can I tell a secret while I'm slightly inebriated on this podcast? So for all of the regular listeners on this podcast, the way Phil talks on the podcast is nothing like what he talks about.
This is
what
true.
he talks like
This is
in
very
real
true.
life.
I think since Phil's not here, we can at least say that. That's a fact.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
And the fact is that you, dear listeners, can help us bring in the real Phil.
I think you
On the
should sign it.
podcast.
Everyone should sign a petition for real Phil to come on the podcast, because one of the reasons why I have trouble listening to these podcasts is because I actually like Tim. I actually like Jake a lot. I actually like what Phil has to say, but I don't like the way he says it.
Right. I think Phil, I would love to see him channel more of the real Phil.
Yeah, the real
just like,
Phil.
Just
True.
a natural, just like
him
just
sitting in the
here.
corner drawing in his iPad.
No, but look, I think we have some. Credibility when it comes to that, because we hang a lot.
Yeah.
We hang
do.
with Phil quite a
Yeah.
lot. Actually, he comes
over
around
often.
We listen to his woes and struggles a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm just, it's
Because the thing is, look, I have to say for myself, and I mean, I feel like I'm trying to be like whoever I am at the moment in my
Yeah.
life. I'm just trying to be that person on the podcast. Like maybe that's not interesting, maybe it's not fun, but it is who I am.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to go up a different personality. So I'm thinking that we can do a petition to bring the real Phil in.
And
the
I don't,
podcast.
by all means, I don't want this to sound bad. Like, I'm not saying anything bad. I'm just saying that Phil, as a real person, is also very interesting, actually, you know?
Yes.
And,
Exactly.
and he
But
has some
I think-
struggles in life. And I think it's very interesting if he would bring that
Wouldn't you say
out
that
to his
it would be
audience a little
beneficial
bit.
to us all and Phil?
Absolutely.
If we brought that in.
That's what I'm trying to say, and I'm not trying to criticize him.
Right.
Obviously, he wants to do it the way he wants to do it. That's fine. I would just like to say that Phil actually in real life is a little bit different than he is on the podcast. And that person is also very likable. And I think he would resonate with listeners as well. So while we're at it, maybe you can,
So we would say
we can bring the real
Phil.
Phil.
You're listening. We would just say that just it's really great and it would be really cool if we just just went that direction, because the thing is, at the end of the day, it's really just about being yourself. I would say.
I agree.
I mean,
I agree.
I was bothered at first by Phil's strange appearance and the way he was talking, but then I found it really funny, and I kind of just went with it, hoping that one day he will be comfortable enough to
Yes.
Yeah.
to join us in his.
I guess
in his
Phil
shoes.
has to
So
be the
far,
showman
we'll
of
have hype
the.
man. Yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
he's the showman.
I just find it funny. I don't know. I was like, I was.
The hype man. The hype man.
Sometimes it stops me dead in the tracks, and I just start laughing because it's unexpected. But other than that, it's amazing. So Phil, if you're listening, you can do whatever you want, my man. You can do whatever, man.
Yeah,
That's
but
true.
I just want to tell you that we appreciate you the way you are. You don't have to be
Exactly.
all poppy and hyper, We know that you are a little bit different in real life, and that's fine. We still
Yep.
like you the
We
way
still
you
love
are.
you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're a really interesting person. I mean,
Exactly.
everyone who's
You-
ever met him will tell you the same
Exactly.
thing.
And,
So
yeah. I think
Yeah.
so.
You're a true, strong pillar of this podcast.
He's a pillar.
pillow.
Is it pillow?
Flello.
This gin is strong.
I have to say, I think Jake and I are a little bit overboard, maybe.
We're a little overboard today.
I think
With
the conversation is going to go.
I don't know, how are your levels, Tim? Are you normal?
These are ciders. These are. I'm not even buzzed. I might just pull up my
He
gin
might as
just
well
to
be
start
drinking
drinking
juice.
it.
So we're sounding like crazy people at this point.
That's okay.
Phil, if this rant was hurtful, it's the gin talking.
It's the gin.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. We talk shit about Phil when he's on the podcast, so it's
That's
only
true.
it's only natural. I think he can handle.
But no,
it.
but
He's a big boy.
I think it's good. It's good. I think it's tough love.
Yeah.
That's why I call it.
It truly is. Yeah.
And I think, Phil, if you're listening to this, you'll be like, yeah, I know you guys love me, but we're just tough love.
And listener, if you're worried we're like some bullies coming out, well, we'll show
We're
you
not
pictures
bullies.
of us three hanging out making stuff when we were like 12.
It's
The
true.
bullying has
look,
been going on since
the
then,
thing
so it's
is
fine.
that we've known each other all our lives, so I think that gives us some credibility.
I have pictures of me and Phil sleeping in one bed holding hands. So
Totally.
when we were like
Oh my
1 year old, so it's okay.
goodness.
Yep.
I haven't seen those. What
I
usually
have
happens
pictures
is
of me and Phil kissing when we were like
That's
2.
true. One. No, it's for your
God.
first birthday. with
Okay,
the
well,
cute
that-
for the
little-
second
That's
birthday
fine.
too.
Okay.
you're pretty much the
There's
same
a lot of
age, so
love
it's
there.
like, yeah.
Yeah. And we're cousins, so it's a bit weird, but
Yeah, that's
Happens.
fine though. That's fine.
so yeah, we have gravitas here.
Yeah.
We're okay. We got clearance.
I just think like Phil always shows me these weird photos of Jacob from his like not even childhood. It's like weird.
Jacob was a weird
teen
little boy.
years. And I'm like, oh, please don't show
cool
me
little
that
boy.
because I have he's my man. I'm getting married to this guy. I don't need to see him with his red hair, looking like a little girl.
Oh,
wait, no,
this is a
expound-
great time.
expound
No,
on the- expound
I
on the
wasn't even
weird-
thinking of that. I was thinking
Expound on
of
the
just
weird
'Cause he
little
was
boy.
a
I want to
cute-
hear more.
No, you were a cute baby, like up until like 10. Up until like 10, I think it's fine. And then came the weird phase.
When I was a woman?
The girl Jake,
That's true.
There's,
And
there-
honestly,
there's a song about that.
There is, yeah.
and
the
also
pickled
I have
penis.
to, while we're at it, have to confess something. There was this teenage Jacob that I was like, this guy looks so weird. And then one time, Jake
Which
shaved.
one is this?
It's like teenage Jacob. I don't
16?
know, maybe like 16, yeah. And then we were already together, and Jake shaved off all of his facial hair. And I'm like, oh my goodness, it's teenage Jacob.
You mean many years later when we were together, then I shaved my beard and I looked like 16.
Yes, and
Right.
there you were at 16, and I was like, oh my goodness,
A
that's
baby before your eyes.
It's-
what
it's
did you want to
illegal.
say, Tim? You said I was a weird little kid. In what sense?
No, I mean I thought like pictures. I was just like I don't know. You were like a little happy little child, just
he
always
was a
like so
perfect
excited.
baby.
That's
Yeah.
true.
And,
I was.
and even just a kid, just like a hyperactive, like little,
was.
like the high pitched.
You know what's funny? My favorite ever, my favorite ever realization,
Phil.
my favorite ever realization as like an adult, realizing what kids sometimes can sound like was there was a video of me talking to our cousin, your brother Stan, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, your brother was 30 and I was
Yeah.
9 or something like that. And in the video that was like candidly captured of me
Yeah.
talking to him, I
Is
was
that when you
talking-
walk into the forest and you're trying?
Yes, I was talking about nonsense, like the little head and the small head, and then the big one, and then the small one, and the big one, and all you hear is your brother going, and then I realized, and all you hear is, and all I realized is like, wow, that makes so much sense. Like, yeah, that's what you sound like when you're a kid.
That's what awaits you, Timmy, with
It's
Agatha.
true, Agatha.
Yeah.
No, I guess
but
it's
you
got a
have to
voice
pay
of like
attention, though.
a man. She's got a really deep
What?
voice, man.
Really?
She's like she's a little girl, but this is how she goes like, oh. Also she has a new grandpa laugh, which is hilarious. She's like,
sound like
it's like, it's like a long sigh. It's just like, what is this coming
Agatha,
from? What is
Agatha's growing up. She's
I
like,
love
what?
her. We have to go there in December.
have to go.
7 months. She's gonna be 7 months.
We're going for,
definitely
for
Christmas.
December. We're going for Star Wars.
Star
Star
times.
Wars. Can we come,
Star
Timmy?
Wars.
No, we're coming.
Yes, of course.
It's not a
We have
question.
a new
We're going.
place.
Good.
Star Wars is a tradition. It's
Phil can sleep in the little room.
No, there's no. Oh no, the plenty of room, plenty of room for sleeping. We have, but it's a long tradition since Hobbit 1.
Yeah.
Since Hobbit 2. Sorry, Hobbit 2.
Okay. Well, can I join in on the transition?
Of course, the transition.
Okay, good.
Tradition.
I'm inviting myself.
Transition. So
let's watch the new Star Wars, so it's okay.
Yeah, Star Wars.
So it comes out December 17th or something like that.
Something like that before Christmas.
Yeah.
So anyway, next movie. What's the movie?
It's some cheese balls.
So listen, guys,
who's
I have some great
presenting it?
stories for you. They're not really that interesting, but so the movie is. Paula, you introduced because it's your.
It's Romeo plus Juliet, a 1996 American romantic crime tragedy based on. It is an adaptation and modernization of William Shakespeare's tragedy Romeo and Juliet. There we go. The film stars Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes in the title.
And lady I've not seen since then.
True. She was in
Homeland, no?
What's that show? I didn't watch that show though.
Yeah.
I remember.
Okay. So she's active. I thought it may be like one of those.
She looks different now. I think she had some work done on her face.
Because like sometimes you have like these people who are like one big hit and they're like, I don't like the fame, and then disappear. So I was just wondering if she's one of those people.
True. Maybe not.
Maybe. I mean, but she was starring in Homeland. I think that's they had a couple of seasons.
I didn't watch it, so I don't know.
And
so
died. I just remembered the name.
So my interesting
story?
story was that it's not really a story, but anyway, in high school, in sophomore year, which is the second year of high school, we actually watched this movie in class because we were learning about Shakespeare, and we were going through some of the text, some of the
I think
plays.
the teacher was not aware.
This is the best example of Shakespearean.
She wanted to show us like what is a contemporary take on.
She wanted to reach the kids. These kids won't watch the medieval shit. So these kids, I gotta reach them. So I'm gonna put this modern.
But it was actually interesting because she wanted to show us the movie because she wanted to show us a contemporary take on Shakespeare. But the reason she showed it to us was also because, which is very interesting. And I want to hear your take on this, Tim.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Was that they used the original text in a very modern context. So I think we can kick off this sort of section. I would love to hear some thoughts from you guys.
That's my question
and
about
I wanted
the text.
to hear, Tim, I wanted to hear your thoughts on what did you think about this sort of modern context with the original Shakespeare text? Go.
It's a novel idea. It took a while to get used to. First of all, I didn't understand what they were saying for the first half an hour. It took a while to get into the groove to actually follow the conversation.
Right.
And especially when they're being poetic and they're like speaking in metaphors to each other. You're like, what? My question is, so it's all authentic text. Like they didn't change it. They just,
I believe
it's like drunken history, right?
Like
95%,
I think is accurate.
Because it's like, you know what it reminded me of a lot? Like I couldn't shake off the feeling. Do you guys remember the Corridor Crew, the guys who did the React to CGI videos? Mm-hmm. They had a video when they did a action scene recreation of Bohemian Rhapsody.
No, I did not.
Do you remember that?
One. No.
What? Basically, it's an action scene, but they're speaking the lines from the movie. They're like, I will not let them go. No, don't let them go. You know, like it's
oh,
spoken word.
I saw that. It was great.
Is that the guy Ren?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I sometimes watch that.
That was Corridor Crew?
Yeah, that's Corridor Crew. Also, I didn't. Also, I was surprised that as well because when I watched it recently, I was like, oh.
No.
It's like a very. It's like a. They took all the lyrics from Bohemian Rhapsody and turned it into dialogue, and they made it like a little mini movie.
I couldn't stop thinking about that because everything felt like that because everything's modern and they should be talking, but they're talking on this weird like song structure kind of thing. So
what did you think, Paula, of the original text in a modern context?
It was really weird to hear it in spoken in American
accent, right?
Accent.
Oh yeah, that was true.
Yeah. Very weird, and also because they were really trying hard to make it to make the dialogue sound the way people would actually talk.
Right.
You know, although no one literally talks like that. So that was a little weird.
I mean, it's a cool idea, I would say.
I have to say that
It is a cool idea. Yeah, I agree with that.
I agree as well. Like, it's something that's surprising was when I was in high school watching this, I was very much like, "Ooh, this is a very, very fascinating, cool idea." I have to say, seeing it now, it's a very strange effect because it's tough to sort of like, it's really balancing between that line of like cheesy sort of like concept, will it work? / like, does this actually function in the story? Yeah. Unfortunately, I think a lot of the movie does tend to feel like it's sort of like a cool concept, but doesn't really translate, in a movie. It's something that's very hit or miss, and in this movie, it's hard to tell if it really did a great job.
I think they were focused so much on delivering all of the lines, I think, from the play that it just didn't. It felt so rushed.
Right.
It felt really, really rushed. Like the whole movie. It just feels like there's constantly some dialogue going on for no reason at all,
It felt
like
almost
the conversations where they're having like, the metaphors. Oh, do you love me so much? Like, she's just asking, do you love me? And he says, I do. And it's like a 10-minute conversation in the pool.
Honestly, guys, I will be honest with you.
And that crazy nurse just being like, Julieta!
Oh, yeah.
Constantly just screaming.
I have to say that, like, this movie, there was definitely some very, very 90s elements, like the fast motion, the style, the contemporary.
But that's his style. But obviously, it felt like a 90s music video, even with the colors, with the color, crazy color. Like, but in the music combination. But this is like, I was watching this first 10 minutes. I'm like, did this guy do Moulin Rouge? And I had to check, and he did.
By the way, do you know what my realization was? Halfway through the film, I was thinking, like, I was watching it, and I was
same for me.
At Wikipedia, I was like, Baz Luhrmann, I was like, Great Gatsby.
Great Gatsby, yeah.
What? I didn't watch Great Gatsby, so
interesting.
Yeah, you should watch it, though. It reminded me so much of it because he mixes those, like, historical elements with, like, modern music. That's sort of like
did you guys watch Moulin Rouge?
I didn't know.
Yes, I watched it.
You watched
I don't
it.
remember it as much, though. I don't remember it as much.
Because that one, because I like Moulin Rouge. Like me and
it.
Emma, we watched that like regularly because that's a very similar thing. But I think he got a little bit better at it. It's less.
That's Moulin Rouge with Ethan Hawke and Nicole...
Evan McGregor. And
Ewan McGregor and Nicole
yes.
Kidman. Yeah, okay.
And they have like all the pop songs like woven
so we all had
story.
some realization while watching this film, and I think that. Again, I think the idea is something that's interesting, but it's one of those things where you think, does this really, really work for the story you're trying to tell? And overall, I felt like it was almost like not the precedents, but they wanted to put this in the forefront of like, we're using the original text, but you have to ask yourself, was that really something that would help the movie? And in this sense, I felt almost like they were just going with it because they wanted to go with it. Whereas, but
I think that's okay because it's that's the thing. I think because I think the director is very stylistic, and I think the choices are to give a certain kind of style. And I think in that case, it works because it is bizarre. It is.
Yeah, the whole movie is surprisingly, from what I remember, is very out there.
Yeah. I think he created like even with the bizarre Verona setting of the city and how I don't even know how it works. Those gangs, like
they were like two
policemen.
mafia houses, I think, right?
And I think they owned the whole like city because like they had like the government like the office buildings as well, and like they were in ties with like the mayor, policeman person.
Let me just ask something. So, Paula, you haven't seen this yet, right? Or you have?
I have, yeah.
You have. So this, I just wanted to ask you, Tim. Was curious to see because we've both seen this movie before.
Okay.
What was your impression of this whole approach of the movie, and not just both like stylistically and this whole like Shakespearean text? What was your like impression in general?
I didn't expect this at all because I knew of the movie because I was born in the 90s, and obviously I've seen when it came out and everything. But
correction, you grew up in 90s. You were born in the 80s.
That's true. That's true. I grew up in the 90s, and I've seen clips of this movie only in that the Cardigans music video. Right, that's the only thing I knew about this movie. So there's like some key shots in this movie which give you a completely different impression of this movie. Like that, this is not what I expect. Like it was really shocking for the first half an hour. I think halfway through the movie, I finally started to understand what they're saying, and I got into the world and aesthetic, and I was going for a ride for about half an hour, and then just the general drama.
It was so dramatic.
Of the characters, it was too dramatic to me, and I fell out. Like it was like there was one point where I think when they get married and things start happening, and there's something going on, it was good, but then the crazy. Wait, you know what? I'm going to talk about something else because here's the thing, right? I knew nothing of. I didn't know what Romeo and Juliet story was. I knew only thing in the basic. Two lovers in the Italian city. They want to be together. They're like teenagers. They can't because of their family, so they kill each other. Right? That's all I knew.
That's actually pretty much the story.
Yeah,
but that's not the story. Watching this movie, if this is authentic text, this is some Morpheus shit again, because they're two stupid kids. None of this would happen if it wasn't for that meddling priest. This is all his nonsense. First he marries him.
Why the priest?
First he marries him, and then he makes up that idiotic plan with the poison. They didn't make it up. He what kind of moron?
Yeah.
What kind of moron thinks of a plan? Oh, you pretend dead, and I'm gonna send a mail. He's gonna send a mail or a letter to notify him. Like, how is that gonna work? There's so many things could go wrong.
I think you were watching it much more intently than Jake and I, because we were like, oh, they're so dramatic.
But maybe because you know the story. I didn't know what the story was. I was curious. I thought they're just going to shoot each other.
We know the story like relatively.
Because I think for me, I think the catalyst was actually him killing that Tybalt guy.
Paco! It's okay.
Paco is
Paco's scratching his
burying
litter
his
box
poop,
and it's just taking forever.
Yeah, he's taking his sweet time.
Okay, he stopped now. No, he's back.
He didn't stop.
Anyway, go on.
Anyway, yeah, I think the catalyst was him, what's his name? Romeo killing Tybalt, as opposed to Tybalt killing Mercutio, right? Because Mercutio is just his friend. He wasn't blood related. And this guy is like, he's Juliet's cousin. So this is like now taking a totally new personal note. Look,
Okay, 1 second. I have to stop this guy.
okay.
I can't hear anything, so
He's just like... I think he's stopping now when he hears you walking towards him. Enough. Okay, he's back. Okay. Paco. Paco is our cat, by the way.
yeah. I think we might have mentioned that.
He's made a special
on the
guest
podcast.
appearance.
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
podcast.
a few times.
Oh, okay. He is famous.
But we should let them know. So you were saying the catalyst, the murder.
Yeah. So for me, I don't know. I didn't see the fault being so much with the priest as much as with the whole like this thing where Romeo crossed the line by killing her cousin. But honestly, I
think
but why couldn't it be just like he got Romeo to like move away somewhere? Like just could do it for her. Like
he was banished.
Priest.
Here's the thing that annoyed me a little bit with
priest.
this movie, and that would change from my old viewing back in high school.
I mean, what can you expect from a priest who has a giant cross tattooed all over his
But
back?
that's what I'm saying. Like it's like they're kids. They're stupid. They're like what? Like in the play, they're like 14, 15. How old are these?
Yeah,
That's what
that
you
15,
said, yeah.
16, something like that.
You know what I mean? Like they're in love. Like I've I had the same experience. Like you want to do it. Like you can't blame them. They blame the old man. He's like, oh, play dead for a day.
He got them married like the next day.
Yeah.
I think
what's wrong with him? That
something
guy's
that
the villain.
That was frustrating for me watching the movie, and who knows what the reason is for this, but like the way Shakespeare writes is very, very, he's a great way with words, and the way he writes things, you have to think about what he wrote in order to understand the meaning better. And he sort of buries the meaning in a lot of different kinds of words and how he structures his sentences. But I think what I got annoyed with was that I just had such a frustrating time listening to these characters talk to each other, and I was like, guys, just come on, just say what you want to say. Don't go through 10 million sentences to say them.
It felt like watching Clockwork Orange, you know,
Right.
made up language. It's just like everyone's being like so weird to each other. Like I understand the kids, like Romeo and Juliet, they're like in love. They're like, it's like a hyper stylized way of not knowing how to talk to each other. But then like the gang members talking to each other was just like,
yeah,
it just felt so weird.
What did you think of the sort of what did I want to say? The world in general, or like the way they portrayed
Verona beach.
It's cool, and like I said, like halfway through the movie, I was into it, and then I lost it. But there was a point in the movie where I was feeling this bizarre world they created. But did you notice that guy, that Tittle was his Tittle?
Tybalt.
That's his name. Tybalt. No, not Tybalt. His friend Mercutio. Did you recognize him?
Yeah,
Jake?
of course. Cypher. I'm so sorry.
The black guy?
Link. Yeah, Link. It took me like 10 minutes, and then he did this thing with his lip, and I was like, oh, it's Link.
No,
you
instantly.
mean drag? What?
Drag?
Oh yeah. He was in drag.
Where he dresses as a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're referencing.
Also, Paul Rudd is in this movie. What the hell?
He looks so good
bizarre.
though.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of people in this movie. There's also Pete Postlethwaite, who was the priest. He was also
he's
bigger back
Kobayashi
then.
from Usual Suspects.
Interesting, because I know him from The Lost World, Jurassic Park.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you guys
He
are
was
Jurassic
Muldoon.
Park.
I know him from
not
somewhere.
Muldoon,
I
so
don't know
sorry,
where,
I
though.
forgot his name, but he was in that movie. Yeah.
You know. Also, there was the kid from Hackers.
Really?
Jesse Bradford. I don't.
Oh
think...
yeah. I know him from that cheerleaders movies.
Oh, okay.
Really?
There's a lot of like
Yeah.
90s.
90s,
Bradford.
not 90s kind of stars.
90s folks.
He starred with Eliza Dushku and what's her name?
that's a
Kirsten
90s
Dunst.
star.
Kirsten Dunst.
Ooh.
By the way, wasn't the maid? Wasn't she? I guess she's the maid. Wasn't she in Harry Potter?
Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's
Okay.
Professor Sprout.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
her. Julieta.
But you know, like I couldn't take Paul Rudd seriously at all. Like in that movie, like anything,
Right.
But
he
what
looked
was
like he was sarcastic.
His character was just the guy who Juliet was supposed to get married to, right?
But if I saw the movie for never seeing a Paul Rudd movie, maybe I would see him as a genuine, like, oh, he's just this do-gooder who, you know, like is about to be thrown. But like knowing like all the characters, Paul Rudd, like it's I think just like so sarcastic, that character. Like he was just like a hobo who dressed up to be a rich guy. Like that was the only thing I was thinking the entire time.
Yeah. That Latino guy. What's his name? He's also from somewhere.
His name is oh my goodness. He plays the voice of a character in Ice Age, but of course he's in many other
Sid the
movies.
Sloth.
He's in many other movies.
But you,
John
seen him-
Leguizamo.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen him in so many things, but I can't
He was in
recall.
Moulin Rouge too.
Interesting.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
By the way, I wanted to say another interesting fact was while I was watching the movie, I was like, of course Leonardo DiCaprio was in Great Gatsby. They worked together, obviously.
Oh,
Baz
Yeah,
Luhrmann.
yeah.
But it was so
Star.
funny seeing, like, that just reminded me of all the posters that girls back in the 90s would have of Leonardo DiCaprio in their bedrooms.
But
Like,
it's
you know, just
interesting.
that-
It's interesting that, like, again, watching this now was that I noticed the movie is much more stylized than I recall. It's also a little bit, I would even say, like, it's in a way a parody somehow of, like, you know, it's Shakespeare on steroids kind of a
Yeah.
thing. And it's almost like, oh, we know that this is ridiculous. This whole premise, this whole old text in a and even
Because it just doesn't translate in today's times, right?
I think it's in the sense it's like they're creating a surreal environment, this surreal world that was like, you know, it's very hard to pinpoint what exactly this is. And I think they got that pretty well down, in my opinion. But at the same time, it's like the question as well is like, how much is that engaging as a movie, you know? And
I really wonder what's the pitch? Like, how did he convince the actors to go all out? Because everyone, like even Leonardo, like everyone's going out.
they're
all
totally
this
going all
Shakespeare
out.
thing,
Right, when
even
we-
Super
though-
dramatic.
when we were watching the movie, honestly, like I think the first maybe 3/4 you were like pretty decently sort of engaged and stuff like that. And the last act, I think at that point we were sort of checked out and we're like,
Yeah, when the deaths start,
Right.
you know, when he kills him and
The
then he
fake
kills the
deaths.
other
Yeah.
guy, and then you are banished.
and then we were just commenting on like, man, like Romeo is like so whiny.
Yeah,
and he's,
Romeo
like,
is whiny and
he's just
dramatic.
dramatic.
And then she was
So
crying in
dramatic.
church. Like, no one cries like that. They're like, oh, 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 oh.
And,
Like,
then,
are
and,
you
then, and then
kidding me?
Romeo's like in the fields bed. And my favorite is like, I'd rather die than not be able to live
Yeah,
in
there's
Verona.
no life
And it's
outside
like,
the
Yeah.
Verona of
And then he's just like
walls.
tucking baseballs.
And then he's like crying. It's like, Julian! Ah! That's a great question. Yeah, seriously.
Wait, are you saying you wouldn't cry for like that for me?
No.
Jacob on his knees.
Gent,
Paula.
Yeah, far away from the city.
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
know, like, your guys' opinion. Like, what's because like I said at the beginning, I didn't know the plot. I didn't know like it was the whole. The only thing I've seen that's Romeo and Juliet is that stupid play in Hot Fuzz. When remember like the. We just sat through 2 hours of so-called acting, and the kiss was the only convincing part in it. You remember?
No. Hot
What was the last
Fuzz.
thing you thought? Because it was the play, like the two actors, the lady who had an affair, and they went to see that Romeo and Juliet play they played. Like that's the only thing I know about Romeo and Juliet. That's it.
Interesting. No,
But I
don't
totally
remember.
missed the whole thing. Like I thought they just killed themselves. I didn't know the whole thing was like, oh, she's supposed to be played dead, and then he comes and like, oh, she's
Yeah,
dead.
that's
So
the
I'm-
whole thing.
The whole thing
yeah.
is a tragedy.
I
of,
never
like,
knew
the-
that.
the-
I
whole
never knew
shtick.
that.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think of the whole story of Romeo and Juliet? Like, what's your opinion of?
It's such a Jesus story, honestly. I think it just portrays how stupid people, young people in love are. When you think like this is the I think it's like this is my whole world. Like being in love with this one person, and like it portrays love in such one-dimensional way, where it's all just like, oh, such beauty I've never seen before,
Yes,
and
yes.
I must now
Yes.
die for her the day after I met her.
They meet. I was so surprised. Like I thought it was gonna be like I thought it was like a dramatic thing that spanned over months. This affair.
No,
Because
no.
like I played what's it called? Red Dead Redemption, and there's like a little plot line where you move into South, and there's like these two plantation kind of families, and there's like a little Romeo and Juliet thing. There's like this. They have one son and they have a daughter, and they want to be together, and you like send mails and you rescue her, or whatever. It was like subplot, and I thought it's gonna be like that. It's like oh, they were visiting each other in secret and everything. They meet, they get married the second day, and then
Literally.
they kill each other like a week later.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
What?
Well, the thing was, like,
crazy.
I remember, like, when I was younger, I was thinking, like, oh, Romeo and Juliet, and this is a staple of, like, sort of like Western literature, and like this is something that's so influential, and it's really important.
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't read the entire play in a long time, since high school, so I don't remember everything. But at the same time, I mean, the story is the same, right? I mean, despite the details, and it's very strange how this is somehow considered a staple, like you were saying, right? A staple of love stories,
Staple of love story.
romance, and it's like, but this is not really the best.
But it is originally Shakespeare. Was he writing it as a critique? Like, oh,
That's what I'm wondering too. Like, was he writing
like is it like, oh, look at stupid kids, or is it like
Right.
true love
or was he
can
writing
only
that?
exist?
Or was he writing in a sense to maybe cater to younger readers? I
Oh, you
have
see, it
no
would
clue.
be like, yeah, like a teenager would relate to that because they're
Right.
like, oh, I can't
then
be
it-
with my love.
But then again, at the same time, like, would there
I'm a
be
drama
sort of younger
queen.
readers back then? I don't know. Like, these are the questions that are important.
Okay,
these are the
I
questions.
can read you something.
Okay, please read us something.
It says,
yeah,
proposals for a main theme include a discovery by the characters that human beings are neither wholly good nor wholly evil, but instead are more or less alike, awakening out of a dream and into reality, the danger of hasty action, or the power of tragic fate. So,
so it is
like,
critical.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's good. But
That's
maybe
good.
like that's one of those things. Like like Police song, Every Breath You Take, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Yeah.
song about a stalker, but it's like the most popular wedding song
Love song.
ever.
Yeah.
Love song. It's like it could be like that. Like originally, it's like, oh, it's maybe a critique,
Maybe he
but-
was trying to sort of like show how, in a sense,
Yeah.
you have to think a little bit more and be a little more mature.
But
in these
now it's like
characters.
the love story.
And now,
for
maybe
some
maybe
reason.
now it's become like extrapolated into like, oh, this is the love story.
Yeah.
I'd rather die than
Because
be
really, if you think
alone.
about it, really, like the story is essentially about two people who are young, they're naive, they are in a sense, just there's so much emotion,
Yeah.
and potential
shirts.
of emotion
Basically,
in themselves.
it's just emotion. There's no reality. There's no sense of like the fact that their families are in a feud that's been going on for years. There's no sense of like, how are we gonna live, together?
or what is it that attracts each other to each other? I mean, really, if you think about it, let's say if we're taking this film as an example, pretty much the basis was like, oh, you're so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes, it's like the natural like attraction, like
It's the base
biological.
level.
Yeah. I must marry
And
you.
and they're just
I know
so
it to be true.
yeah. So
True
it's
love.
interesting, I don't know if the play is exactly like that, but I do remember there was fairly along the same lines.
Yeah.
Wasn't too much
Yeah,
different.
well, I wanna know, you dear.
I liked that one part and that I liked in the book. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to like paraphrase it now because I'm kind of drunk. But
Jim is speaking now.
It's good. We'll listen.
where Juliet goes and says like, why do I have to love this person who is my enemy? He's my love and my enemy. And then she goes saying like, but if he was anyone else, he would still be him, and I would still love him. So it takes out of the picture this idea that he's from this this nemesis family, and you just love him for what he is. But
Why are they nemesis in the beginning?
I think it's like a family
it's
thing.
like a family feud, like
Like you
law.
don't remember them all. Like the Capaldis were always at war with the
Right.
Magagis.
Yeah,
I don't know what
exactly.
their names are.
Montagues.
Yeah, but I want to say like that's a good idea. Like that's the premise that I like. I like that because you like a person for a person. You don't like them because they come from a certain background or whatever, and you can disconnect them from that. But why didn't he explore more deeply into that? Like
Right.
why did they now just like they fell in love under wearing masks for the love of God? Like that's like.
Yeah.
Really
I
weird.
honestly don't know.
Both of them were
exactly
like
what they
masked,
What they were,
Crazy.
what really the story
Well,
was
maybe
about.
if there's a
yeah.
Shakespearean expert in the audience.
Yes, please. You
Yeah,
write in.
yeah.
Tell us.
Again, teach us
Teach
your
us
way.
the
Teach us
ways.
our ways.
Because,
So,
yeah.
oh,
Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
we
No.
don't know. We're speculating here, and we would like some wise words to tell us how things are.
Yeah, so I think sort of in general, the style definitely was a bit more 90s that I remember. Was a cool concept for sure. I still do think it's a cool concept that they did. I do think that some of the things were a little on the nose that I don't remember it being like that. Like for instance, like you had these shots of like the Montague and what's the other family?
Capulets.
The Capulet. Like
Capulets.
you have these like corporations. I think that went a little too far. I think
Yeah.
they really could have toned that
the
down.
world building. Like there's some
Yeah.
amazing things about world building. Like when they're small. Like when I love all the fact when they have anywhere they go, they have to take their put away their weapons, which is like traditionally you had to do that because everyone
Right.
had a
Yeah.
sword or a knife. So you
Yeah.
had these places where you leave your swords, and that translating into guns, it was amazing. I love that world building.
They
But
went
then
like
again,
yeah.
But
But then
it
you
did
have
make a
something-
historical difference, like because I think in the play they were just two really powerful, rich families,
yeah,
and in this movie they were like two families that literally ran the city, right? Like they were
Yes.
the mafia
Yeah.
of the city.
they were everything. The corporations, basically,
Yeah, they ran the politics and everything. So that
and
was
their
I think,
gangs
a
could
little-
just roam the street freely. And then
Right?
the
That
police
was-
would be
that was-
angry. Like, why are you
honestly,
fighting?
Yeah, that was really weird, honestly.
What did you want to say, Tim? You had something?
Oh no, it was like I like the small world building stuff, but then the big world
Yes,
building
yes.
stuff were funny because you can clearly see this was before CGI and everything, and they're trying to use stock footage. Like there's at the beginning, the two gangs they exchange poetry and then they start shooting at each other, right? And it's like a small little gas station, right?
Yeah.
And then in 2 seconds, using stock footage and helicopters flying
Yes,
around.
that's exactly what I wanted to say.
It looks like the whole world is gone crazy, like the whole city. And-
Yes.
and it's-
Yeah.
that was such a bizarre jump, and you can clearly that's like something that doesn't age well
I
because
agree.
it's
That's
just
what
doesn't
bothered
work.
me with this was like I felt like this would have been much more refined if these families were more like sort of underground, maybe something more in the vein of John Wick. Something like not John Wick,
like Secret.
Yeah, John Wick.
But I think I know what you mean. Yeah, it's a secret. It's not like
it's
open
underground.
Yeah.
It's sort of like under the surface. There are these families that are feuding, and they get away with a lot of things because of all kinds of corruption and so forth. But this to me felt like they were like they went a little too far with some of that world building.
It was like and
it felt
like
cheesy.
It was like a weird, like like a future, like
and it didn't make
alternative
sense.
universe kind of thing.
And it didn't make sense. Then why would you have cops stopping them and stuff like that? Didn't make sense. That was a paradox. Like you're building these worlds, and then the cops are stopping you. So that's something.
I don't mind. I think it's definitely completely different than what I expected. I think
Right.
just having those shots of Leonardo DiCaprio being cute and all, like that's not this movie. Like there's a bit of that, but the rest is just this crazy nonsense of people in Hawaiian shirts shooting each other.
But
and
that is,
speaking in
I think,
tongues.
wouldn't you say that it was kind of a cool, kind of bold, like way of making a movie where they went with all these crazy aspects, the guns, the Montagues
Even if it's maybe a miss, if you look at it retrospectively,
Sure.
I think it's a cool thing that they did that.
they explored it,
Yeah.
right? Like the Montagues are all these Hawaiian shirts, kind of crazy guys, and this other family is very, like sort of more traditional, religious, and so on and so
long
forth.
MTV music video, and they just
That was funny. On
Wow.
Wikipedia, it said actually like MTV inspired, which is interesting. I guess it makes sense.
I mean, it's just
Inspired.
I don't know. Maybe if it was, I definitely didn't. It doesn't need to be 2 hours.
No,
I think
for
like
sure not.
1 hour 10 minutes would be
The perfect, just
pretty
a
good.
quick breeze through.
Yeah.
It'd be great. And I think this is again like maybe this sort of concept works better as like a short film, something like that. So maybe that would make more sense if it was a shorter film. You'd be like, oh, I get the flavor. That's a fun idea, cool concept. We get the story, great.
Someone should do a TV series based in this world.
Yeah.
Just like a lonely mafia
I have
member.
to say that
like his life.
one thing I didn't like actually, and what I forgot about watching it from high school was that there aren't a ton of set pieces in this movie. I don't know if you noticed.
Mhm.
They reuse a lot of the same locations, which I felt.
And there was not a lot of establishing stuff. So half the time you have no idea where you are.
Right, because like for instance, like Leonardo DiCaprio, he's hanging out at that like beach area, right?
Yes.
And you're like, okay, then that's abandoned, and that turns out to be a party area too. And then there's another scene where there's again where like they have a feud there, and it's like, we could really use more locations,
Yeah. But I guess
So-
it was like the production design was a problem since they had to be look
Right.
so unique and specific for that.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
okay.
any
closing thoughts,
Any
Paula?
closing thoughts?
I almost fell asleep.
You're done.
That's. I mean, if you got nothing, that's also cool.
Yeah, I
It
think I just drank too much gin. I think
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. I'll be
That's
fine.
okay.
Jake's mixing was,
My mixing was a little extreme.
He's a true
Just like the
mixologist.
movie, a
Sir
little
mix a
extreme.
lot.
Yeah, you mix. Yeah, it was too much style and too much gin.
Yeah.
You know, drinking too much style in this movie.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us on the podcast.
Yes,
Oh,
It's
thank you
been
for
nice.
having
saving
me.
us.
Thank you
You
for having
saved
me on
us.
the podcast.
You're free to come anytime again if you'd
That's
like
true.
to.
That's true.
It's okay. I mean,
She didn't enjoy it. She was like,
Not interested.
I've done it.
No,
I'm
that's
good.
not what I meant.
Thank
I
you.
meant I'm glad that you three guys, you have something that's your own. I'm actually very happy for that you get to experience that. And I was happy to happy to fill in today for Philip Dragish, who is off on his
Japan.
travels. Yeah.
Looking at 3D boobs.
Yeah.
Boob, boob.
Poorly rendered, as he said.
Render.
But I mean,
So, what do you think of the process? Did you? Was it a hard time watching the movies? Was it?
I have a hard time just in general watching the movies at home because I'm very used to, like, if I'm watching a movie, I usually like iron the laundry or do stuff with it. And today I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch so I can have my build opinions on it and stuff
Right.
like that.
I mean, honestly, for the people listening, I'm actually surprised that there is quite a bit of work that goes into
There
podcasts.
is.
Honestly, like
There
if you
is,
think about it,
yeah.
like you might think 2 movies, that's nothing. Honestly, 2 movies is a lot. I mean,
It
if you
is
think
a
about
lot.
it.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
it's
we watched
4
it all
hours of your
in
time.
in one day.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you don't time it right, I mean, even 2.5 hours of your day, that's a lot when you're working full time and stuff
Yeah.
like that. That's hard to squeeze in sometimes. So,
Yeah.
you got a little bit of a taste of how.
And I think we had a much easier time today watching from home because you guys usually go to the cinema, you know, which
Yeah.
is adds another level to it. So yeah.
Yeah, like a coworker was asking, like, okay, so like one episode every 2 weeks, like how much time does that take? And I was like counting it up, and like that's about usually 9 hours per person because it's
Yes.
2 movie
Yeah.
watching, and then we all have our duties, who does what, as far as production wise, and there's also preparing of notes and everything. I was like, it's 9 to 12 hours every 2 weeks, and it's like, oof,
Yeah.
I think
it doesn't seem like it, but it's crazy.
Yeah, I think I've definitely gained more appreciation for the whole thing. Like I said, I'm Jake will know that, he will confirm I'm not a podcast person. Like I
true.
sometimes listen to podcasts and they have to be on a very specific topic that I'm super interested in, and even so I'm like, okay, I heard everything that I needed to know, I'm gonna stop now. I'm not gonna listen till the end. There have been some episodes that I've listened of Phil and Jake's old podcasts. I have not listened to your Matrix minute
Makes sense.
at all
Makes
because
sense.
I'm not a fan of Matrix. This podcast, like I listen here and there, and sometimes I rewind and stuff like that because I'm sometimes interested in what you have to say, but not all the way.
Well, I think
We take our sweet ass time.
Yeah, but I
mean, look at this
definitely
one. This one's
appreciate.
like what, 2.5.
Yeah, but I definitely appreciate the now I've learned to appreciate the effort that goes into it,
Thank you.
because it does take out of your free time, which I think it's really admirable. I mean, you're a guy who has a full-time job. Phil is a guy who also, works for himself, has to work around it. And Tim, you have a family, you have a baby, you have a job. Like, I understand it takes effort to do those things.
I mean, honestly, I'm surprised sometimes about how much actually this takes a bit of effort to produce this podcast, and it's
especially when Phil comes over. Here are the files; they have to be done by tomorrow.
Honestly,
messenger boy
running a
comes in.
podcast really depends on what kind of podcast you have and how you structure it and how you organize it. But running a podcast definitely is quite a bit of work sometimes, which is interesting. I get surprised myself.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be worth it if it wasn't such a fun time to do it. Like,
True.
I look forward to
I'm
every
glad.
2
I'm
weeks
glad
to
that you
sit
have
down.
fun with it, though. I really am. Yeah.
It's fun, honestly.
And honestly, like the other thing that I was thinking today, because it was like my choice of the movies. I was like, okay, I'm gonna Google everything. I'm gonna make some notes and stuff like that. And then I didn't. And I was thinking, like, you know what? It would take even more time if a person did that. And there are some podcasts out there, like I'm not gonna name them, but there are some podcasts that I listen that posts that they post daily or like twice a week.
Really?
And they have like dedicated topics that they do research on. And I'm like, oh my God, that's like at least a half-time job, you know?
Right.
Well, but if they're
That's
successful, it could be a
really-
full-time job.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
like, if you make money off it, so
Yeah. So I'm definitely having like a new appreciation
Oh, thank you.
for podcasts.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
I think you have to maybe host me one more time and then I'll have like
Sure.
the full-blown...
Well, I have to be honest a little bit here in the sense that, for instance, like for Matrix Minute, I think we had more research based. Granted, Phil did most
that
of the
was
research,
crazy times. That was 3 episodes a week.
but that was
Yeah.
actually a
Yeah.
lot of work, and I'm actually pretty proud of the Matrix Minute because I feel like we did a lot of covering of the movie in general. Phil did a lot of research. He did a lot of the heavy lifting, but I think that we all added sort of thoughts and
Right.
opinions.
But you
and-
all watched it, right? I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
And I feel like this podcast is a little more free form. It's a little more just opinion based. So
Yeah, but I like that it sort of, for people who maybe don't know you, I think it wraps up nicely the kind of childhood that you guys had and
True.
the memories that you'd share from your earlier years where you would make movies together. And now, you guys live miles away from each other. Okay, Phil lives close to us, but you still get to do something and discuss something that's a mutual interest of yours. And I think that's actually very
nice, you know.
Thank you.
In
Yeah,
a
that's true.
sense. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You hit the nail on the head on some of the principles of this podcast.
Yeah.
So thank you again for
We're
coming
glad
on.
you appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I apologize for my English. It's not
Why?
my native language.
Don't worry.
I'm from the land of Croatia.
It's okay.
but
We can do a Croatian/Serbian podcast.
we should
all just speak in our native tongues.
Oh my goodness, Timo, we should do a Croatian/Serbian and like a Slovak/Czech movies, because Czech cinematography is really rich.
Why don't we do that? Well, next time you're
true.
on, we can do a
Oh my
Czech/Slovak movie.
Not
I'm
Slovak
gonna-
cinematography, that's crap. But
Not
Czech
Slovak,
is
but
good.
Czech is good.
Czech is good.
Yeah.
They even have they have an Oscar awarded movie. It's called
Filmovky.
Kolja. Remember that? It's that what's his name? Guy, what's this? So, I don't know. I'm not gonna remember.
The guy who
now.
directed Amadeus, isn't he Czech?
He's Czech. He's Miloš Forman. We can watch Hair.
Yeah.
That's his
Right,
name.
Miloš
And
Forman.
Amadeus.
Here's my question. Recently, Netflix put in like about 100 Czech movies
Really?
into Netflix. Did you guys get that as well or no?
I
'Cause
don't
Czech-
I don't think so. Can you give me one movie? I'll check. Like maybe.
Okay, Czech Pelíšky. That's like the very famous one.
Peličky?
Do you think it's maybe like?
Pelíšky, with a Y in the end.
Do you think maybe that's like a location based?
That's what I'm saying. Is it a location
Let's
thing
see,
or
let's
it's
see,
like
let's see.
Europe here? You plebs have
Anything?
because
we
there's
don't.
Romanian movies. I found Russian
it's
movies. I found
No.
French
based.
movies.
We don't have it. I'm
So it's
unfortunately.
Pelisky.
No,
Mm,
nothing.
sad.
So no, so it must be regional. That's
Yeah.
poo-poo because like there's so many Czech movies.
Granted,
on
we're
Netflix.
we're mooching off of Phil's account, and I think his account.
no, we're paying now.
I know, but his account is based in USA.
America.
Yeah,
Croatia.
yeah.
Americas.
No, it's based in Croatia.
Americans get no
Huh?
No,
European.
it's based in Croatia.
Really?
Yeah, his account.
I
is
think it's
American.
like you can't do that anymore. You
you
can't.
can't do anymore.
But I mean, there are a bunch of Czech movies that are really worth seeing. We
Really?
should-
No,
Interesting.
it's
You
got a
guys should
very
have
fine
some-
tradition.
Yeah.
All of Balkan's directors, like from Serbia and Croatia, all
Yeah.
went to the Prague school.
Yeah.
And a lot of the
I mean,
styles
it tells you
inspired
enough
by-
that Zagreb has a Czech movies appreciation month. You know, they have a whole
Interesting.
month dedicated just to Czech movies. So
Maybe you can be on the
yes.
Czech episode.
I would love to. I love Czech
regional
cinematography.
movies.
And I like their literature, and we should really do it.
Rozumiem Czeszki.
Tak, moving Česky.
You know what
Česky.
you said?
What do you say?
I understand Czech girls.
How do you say Czech in Czech?
Česky.
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 Rozumiem
Czeszki is Czech girls
It's like-
or ladies. Or,
Slovenský.
there you go.
Rozumiem.
Brinzové halušky.
Brinzové halušky.
Well, yeah, guys. I
Vičko.
mean, you're getting a
Vičko.
full experience.
Dušky.
Like you're listening to this podcast. Who knows where? And the truth is, it's being recorded in Bratislava and Zagreb,
Yeah.
which are the two European capitals.
It's true. It's
It's-
true.
Powerhouses.
Power, European powerhouses. The control of the
That's what
government
you think,
influences.
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Anyway.
All right. Okay. Let's
Anything
wrap this
final?
up.
Tim, do you have any fan mail? Anything? Nothing?
I got nothing.
Me
I
neither.
guess just it's been crazy. I've been moving. I could
That's
not
true.
dedicate a lot
Yeah.
of times. So, but from next, Phil will be back and he'll be hosting his
Is Phil
episodes.
hosting
We'll see
next
what he
episode?
chooses.
Or is it me or you?
You're probably going to watch some
we pushed him.
Japanese stuff, you know.
We
Wait,
pushed him.
are
We
you-
pushed
are
him
you
up.
sa- Are you saying we pushed Phil? But I think the Ferrari movie's coming out now.
Is that the Enzo guy? The Enzo?
Well,
Enzo Ferrari?
This spreadsheet has decided that it's not
called
fair.
Ferrari versus Ford.
Oh, I don't know.
I think we can work things out, but I think it
Okay.
wasn't fair to Phil be skipped for his
You're
for his
saying
hosting
just like,
duties. So
okay, I see.
we
Yeah.
temporarily.
I think he will not
hold-
have it.
no.
Yeah, and in the end, it works out. So Phil has to pick Star Wars.
So wait,
in the
then
end,
it's
so
Phil, then it's what, you, or is it me, then you?
I would have to check the spreadsheet, but
We'll check the spreadsheet.
We'll let the people know.
So I think
You
as
just
a-
want to watch
as a
Ford
I just want
versus
to watch the
Ferrari.
Ferrari Ford. As a final note, we would like to thank everyone for listening to the Twofold podcast. Great time listening. Thank you, Paula, for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everyone. Feel free, when you're super bored, you're thinking like, what should I do today? And you just go to iTunes and just
Yeah, and please share the podcast. I think the guys deserve a little bigger audience, right?
Thank you.
I think I've learned to appreciate this more now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And pop in, like a little review. Just type it in, just something, a little star rating. It helps us out, to kind of spread the word. And yeah, tell your friend if you like the podcast. Tell your friend, be like, hey, check this podcast out. It's fun.
If you're going to McDonald's by yourself,
exactly.
This podcast, it will be like having friends eating with you at McDonald's. You don't have strangers coming up to you. You'll be like, no, I already have people at my table.
It'll be
like
that picture, like that picture online, right, of that kid eating ice cream, and next to him is this poster of 3 people having fun, and that'll be you. You'll
oh yeah, the guy.
You'll join us. You'll join us in pretending to be with us, even though we're just a poster. So
long time ago, when I used to work at this sucky ass game store, what my pride, my most amazing thing was at the Mondays. My first podcast I ever listened to was the Rooster Teeth podcast, back then called Drunk Tank, and they would release on Monday, and they would record usually before lunchtime. So every Monday, but this was back when they had the iPod Shuffle, so I would download, in the night, the new episode, and then Monday morning I would be sitting there, and then I would be like, okay, the podcast is about 2 hours long, so 2 hours before my lunch, I would start listening to the podcast, and they would end the podcast like, okay, guys, what are we having for lunch? And I'd be like, oh, I'm going for lunch too, and I would stop the podcast and go for lunch.
So you were just there with them, like your friends.
Exactly. 12-hour shifts working at a store no one goes to. You need a little bit of podcast friends.
Yeah.
I think you guys are real podcast people. Like I'm like I said, I have maybe 3 podcasts that I listen.
But Paula, I have to have a little secret to our audience as well too. Like I really honestly have a hard time finding time to listen to podcasts these days.
That's true.
I dip into some podcasts here and there. But I used to listen to podcasts much more years before, but I don't listen to them much.
That's why you should also maybe appreciate your audience a little more,
That's true. Our audience listens to podcasts.
We
probably.
appreciate them.
Yeah, that tells you that it's
You need to come forth.
That's true. Come forth, our audience, and show you.
We know Frank, right?
True.
Oh yeah, I've heard about Frank.
We have a couple.
Shout out to Frank. I've heard so much about
Tim.
you, man.
That's true. You've heard many.
Tim from New Zealand, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I know
Tim from New
him.
Zealand.
Well, we have
Heard many nice things about him.
We have a dedicated listener, Duncan, Drew's brother.
Oh, Duncan. Okay, Drew was here recently. I've heard about Duncan.
Yeah,
Duncan
he listens
lets us
a lot.
know
And he has
about
amazing
episodes, which is
feedback
nice.
and he has awesome comments. So shout out to him. He has a lot of stuff that he always...
That's actually really nice, guys.
Yeah. So
if we forgot about you, apologies, but the ones we didn't speak about, come forth.
Yeah.
reveal yourself.
I think
Reveal
you should
yourself,
definitely
Come
give
from
them
the
give the guys
shadows.
some feedback, on what the episodes are like, and
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
if you're like, don't ever have her on again, I won't come. I'll
That's
just
the first comment.
I'll just bring you
like,
dick.
get her off. Get her off. It's not Phil.
Although you know what, the
With
last
Phil.
time Petra and I were on the podcast, you got this comment. I'll never forget it. It was on your
What?
Facebook page, and it was like, "It's good that it's not a sausage fest for just once."
true.
That's actually true.
And I think
I mean, if
pretty
you think about it,
sausagey.
the historical background of this podcast has been so far just Sausage Fest.
sausage
Yep.
fest forever. Yeah,
We redeemed ourselves a little bit at Matrix Minute. We had like 3 women or 2.
that's great. That's awesome.
That's true.
So,
Yeah.
but still,
Yeah.
general Sausage Fest.
All right.
Yeah.
So
All right.
Anyway.
next week back to the regular sausage fest.
That's
It
true.
is.
3 sausages
raining
to be
from the
exact.
sky. 3 or maybe 4. I don't know.
Are you saying some of us have double sausage?
Who knows?
I don't want to get into that.
Interesting.
Who's double? Who's double
double
barrel?
sausage.
It's gonna be poorly 3D rendered.
But don't some people have the
Sausage.
double sausage?
I don't know, Jake. How
I've
is
seen
this? What is
pictures.
this?
It's the
Timothy.
great
I'm a
ending.
curious man. I'm wondering. wondering.
Maybe they were badly rendered. I don't know.
I don't
But
know.
it did
Maybe-
see
maybe
images.
I have to drink some more.
So
All right,
yeah,
okay, so-
that's pretty much it. I think for this episode, I think this is actually a pretty historically long episode. I think.
It's true. It's true. We took it
Because you have a
we'll
woman
see.
on, so it was a lot of that stuff
Oh, what is this? What is this?
to be said.
This sexist comment.
It's not sexist if it comes from a woman.
That's true.
I'm joking.
You have the upper hand.
Yeah.
I guess so. All right.
I don't know. It was a long
Music's
episode.
playing already.
We covered both movies, which is great. So,
Yeah.
let us know what
The
you
music's
think.
getting louder.
Our music is coming in. Do you hear the music too?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
beautiful.
It's time to end.
So,
happy
thank you, everyone.
Dushichiki Halloween.
Exactly.
See you
Kill
in
a
2
pumpkin.
weeks.
It's
and
almost Christmas. So.
Phil's back. Thank you once again for joining us, Paula.
Thank you for having me. I hope I can come sometimes again.
Absolutely. You're always welcome. Let's see everybody. Have a great 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Boom.